These are the Diddy pictures Hollywood doesn't want you to see. Every A-list celebrity from Leonardo DiCaprio to Mariah Carey can be seen partying with the disgraced rapper at his various get-togethers dating back to 1998. Here's a shot from one of Diddy's white parties with Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton in the background. And here he is with Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore at another party in 2009. Russell Brand, Chris Brown, Lil' Kim, Nicole Richie and Tommy Lee are just a few of the other big-name guests, while another picture from Diddy's East Hampton house shows two women pouring champagne down another woman's throat in the pool. It comes after Diddy was arrested on racketeering and sex trafficking charges, with authorities claiming he threw massive sex parties that were often recorded. Diddy has pled not guilty and faces a minimum of 15 years behind bars if convicted.
When Diddy got arrested by the Department of Homeland Security after a flood of progressively worse and worse lawsuits and accusations for almost a year straight, no one was surprised. If Diddy had ever been one thing, it was creepy. You didn't have to look very hard or even look at all to see that something was wrong in Diddy's mind. Inappropriate relationships with teenage Justin Bieber and Usher, the rumors around the mysterious deaths of Biggie and Tupac, an easily recognizable thirst for attention, and even worse things that I literally can't say in the first 5 minutes of a YouTube video. Basically, people had already known for years that Diddy wasn't the generous, conscientious music executive that he and his team tried so hard to make him look like.
So I had two choices. Either I was going to sit in that failure and give up, or I was going to make a decision to step out of the darkness. You see, when you're in that darkness, you want to sit there and wait for the light to come. The only way out is to step forward, to face your fears, to become your own light.
Behind the big donations to schools, the activism, there was always an undertone of evil that even $1 billion fortune couldn't cover up. You don't get your name associated with murder and stealing for no reason.
I'm a savage, whatever I want, I'm going to get, whatever I want, I have to get.
But it wasn't until his arrest and the ripping off of the mask that Diddy's true nature was finally revealed. He wasn't a good guy with a dark side or a nuanced figure with a complex past. At the exact moment when the federal government brought him in for sex trafficking charges, it was confirmed that Diddy was truly deeply evil. The evidence was right there. It was the final piece of the puzzle, revealing that Diddy had spent his entire life taking advantage of others to the point where his music empire was nothing but a front for his sick obsessions. At the same time, though, Diddy's arrest somehow created a lot more questions than it answered. We all knew he was a bad guy. Get me wrong, but now we're realizing that it went so much deeper, with Diddy starting to look like his sick, disturbing crimes might rival those of Jeffrey Epstein or Harvey Weinstein. Not just one bad actor, but instead the leader of a criminal operation carrying out revolting abuse and exploitation. And so now there are even more questions than there were before. How did Diddy get away with it for so long? What were the full extent of his crimes? But even more sinister, who knew about his empire of abuse and didn't tell? Who, out of his massive network of celebrity friends and powerful contacts, was joining in? The size and scope of Diddy's alleged crimes, combined with his control over the industry, implies a much larger web of deception and evil than most of us could have ever imagined before. It's to the point where somehow his arrest, finally putting a monster behind bars, opens more doors than it closed. So what and who was Diddy hiding? If you let Diddy tell the story of his own life, he's a hero. He spent massive amounts of resources and time throughout his career creating good optics for himself. Even as recently as 2021, one of the last magazine profiles that was ever done on him before his arrest tells us a lot about how Diddy wanted people to see him and what he thinks of himself. During that 2021 interview with Vanity Fair called With Love, Sean Combs, he talked about his new lifelong purpose that was literally sent to him by God. He says this: "I feel like God sent me. God put on my heart, what's your purpose?" I was looking at all these things, preachers and different people talking about purpose, because I realized purpose is something deep. Have I really found my purpose? I know I'm making money and I'm successful and I'm changing the game, but is that my purpose? And then I really prayed on it, and God told me, your purpose is to play a part in saving the black race. The man who spent his whole career signing his fellow black artists into record deals designed to make him rich off their work. The guy who lied on the names of almost a dozen black kids from his own hometown dying at a concert he was performing at, saying he had tried to save their lives and then leaving the scene immediately. The same guy who testified against Shine and let him go to prison for 10 years, ruining his life and career rather than tell the truth, the guy who groomed teenage Usher. The list is endless, and that's not even to mention the long-running rumors that he ordered the death of Biggie Smalls, his business partner and supposed best friend. That's the guy who's saying he is supposed to save the black race. The hypocrisy and self-awareness is almost unbelievable. Meanwhile, Diddy still says a lot of other highly suspect stuff in this article. At the time, he was embarking on a strange vanity project where he rebranded himself with the name Love, talking about progress and equality in a way that was pretty meaningless back then, but now is just disturbing knowing what he was getting away with behind the scenes. He said, "The Me Too movement inspired me. It showed me that you can get maximum change." The journalist wrote, "He launched a diversity training program this summer. The 6-week course is dubbed, in true Sean Combs fashion, the Excellence Program, and is designed to support aspiring entertainment executives from underrepresented communities." But then, most ridiculously of all, he said, "I was sent here not to just do things that are rooted in personal success, but to be able to transfer to we, and do things that are real change, bringing communal success to everybody." As if he had ever done anything to anyone except traumatize, abuse, and exploit. Even before it all came out, though, people called Diddy out for his hypocrisy. Knowing that his history in business was anything but loving, it's pretty ridiculous to hear him tell people that he wants to save the black race. But now, knowing what we know today, the interview with Vanity Fair and many others he did at the time show how deep-rooted Diddy's evil is. The whole time he's preaching about how he's going to save his race, benefit his community, give back to people, he was not only already exposed for doing dirty business against black people his whole career, but he was also abusing black women behind the scenes. Even as recently as just a few months before Cassie's bombshell lawsuit was filed against him, destroying Diddy's image forever, he received a Global Icon Award for the Video Music Awards, and then, shortly after, was given the key to New York City by Eric Adams. And he went to great lengths to curate this good image. For many people, Diddy was this guy who opened schools, founded charities, and represented success against all odds, true black excellence. But even that was a facade. In 2016, he founded a charter school in Harlem, New York, making a big deal out of the PR and congratulating himself for being so charitable, promising better opportunities for underprivileged kids growing up in a similar situation as him. Although, later, parents of students at the school reported that it was mismanaged and underfunded, being plagued by high teacher turnover and student violence. But with Diddy, the way that he continued to seek out this attention and curate this image of an inspirational, generous, caring black billionaire, it reveals a lot about him. Any sane person who exploited his colleagues, putting them in bad deals, leaving people for dead, testifying against his clients, and was even rumored to have put a hit out on his supposed best friend, not to mention grooming kids, most people, if optics were looking that bad, would go into hiding. But with Diddy, his lack of self-awareness, his narcissism, it made him keep coming back for more attention, and ultimately, I think him still blowing his own trumpet while public opinion started to shift played a big hand in his eventual downfall. The motivational speeches, the PR campaigns, the videos of the yachts on the Amalfi Coast, if he didn't spend so much money and time flaunting, the story around him right now might not even be half as big. Because still, the world always knew. And now that he's sitting in a federal jail awaiting a trial that sees him facing a sentence of anywhere from 15 years to life, despite his best efforts to create a narrative that he controls, it just never really worked in his favor. I mean, let's look at the ridiculous stuff that he had written about himself in his biography. Sean Combs was only 2 years old when he realized his life's passion. His mother had dressed him up for a fashion show at his daycare center, and as the little boy toddled out, the light hit him and the audience cooed at his adorable entrance. Combs later said, "As soon as the spotlight hit me, I embraced it." He says, "I came out and tried to steal the show." And what he accomplished with cuteness at 2 has repeated over the years with hard work and determination. Enormously talented and regularly controversial, Sean Combs has created an empire in film, fashion, and fragrance, changing the face of hip-hop forever. At age 2, Combs knew what he wanted from life. And since that first spotlight, he's been stealing the show ever since. This type of ridiculous narrative shows just how dumb Diddy is. Despite his success and money, he couldn't manage to keep a low profile enough to get away with his insane crimes against humanity. And rumors about Diddy's true nature had been circulating for decades. The joke that you had to have sex with Diddy if you wanted a record deal in the rap game was an old reliable punchline, to the point where I doubt most people saying it even knew what they were referencing. But it always seemed like it really might not be a joke, with even big figures in music like Eminem, 50 Cent, Cat Williams, and Kanye speaking publicly on their dislike for Diddy. Not to mention that even without the rumors, Diddy's business career was shady at best, with the fact of him exploiting his artists being public knowledge. Not just a rumor, but something literally everyone knew. The fact that he seemed to love fame and attention so much, always on a talk show, always doing some interview, or popping up to receive an award, it made him seem even more sinister. Being a shady businessman is one thing, but most people do that in private. Trying to draw as much attention to yourself as possible, as if you're congratulating yourself for getting away with it, it's safe to say that Diddy didn't exactly have fans. Instead, he had power and influence, and he was able to leverage that into as much attention as possible. And I think most people could tell the difference. And now, with Diddy suddenly sitting in federal jail facing 15 years to life, the secret is out. He was much, much worse than just a shady or unethical businessman. In reality, his exploitative business tactics were a cover-up for something much, much worse. All of those rumors were true, and more. And if you're trying to see what was going on behind the scenes all along, one of the first places you need to look is the women in his life. One of the biggest sources of clues throughout Diddy's life and career was his romantic relationships. And that makes sense. The long list of women he's been connected to are some of the people he spent the most time with. They should know him best. So when it comes out that he's been hiding his true character all along, that's where people are gonna look first. Diddy had a relationship with the model Kim Porter from 1994 to 2007, later dated singer Cassie from 2007 to 2018, and has also been romantically linked to Jennifer Lopez, Cameron Diaz, Young Miami, and many others. These women could play a key part in revealing the extent of Diddy's crimes, potentially providing a unique insight into what really happened behind closed doors, at least the ones who are still alive.
They got a co-conspirator on Diddy. They got a lot of people that will come to court on Diddy. Let's roll this footage.
Kim Porter might be the most notable woman in Diddy's life. She met Diddy while working as a receptionist at Uptown Records, his first record label, and they were together on and off for almost 15 years, having 3 kids. Diddy even adopted her first son, Quincy. Kim herself was a successful actress, appearing in a number of roles as well as modeling on numerous magazine covers. She also helped start singer Janelle Monáe's career while running a lifestyle planning company in Atlanta, Georgia. However, Kim's life was cut short in 2018 when she died from a sudden case of pneumonia at the age of 47. Diddy was devastated. I mean, the mother of his children, a very important person in his life, unexpectedly gone. He tweeted out countless reflections, saying things like, "For the last 3 days, I've been trying to wake up from this nightmare, but I haven't. I don't know what I'm going to do without you. I miss you so much." And later, "We were more than best friends. We were more than soulmates. We were some other shit, and I still miss you so much." The tributes to Kim, the toll it took on him, it was clear Diddy cared. At least that was until the conspiracies came out. You see, the circumstances surrounding Kim Porter's death were confusing, to put it lightly. Kim was only 47 years old, living in a beautiful upscale neighborhood of Los Angeles with access to healthcare, medication, and anything else she might need. How did she end up dying of pneumonia at home in under 4 days? How did she not get to the hospital first? It's a valid question to ask. Young, healthy, rich people don't randomly die out of nowhere with no warning. Allegedly, according to a number of rumors and tabloids over the years, Kim Porter's death may not have been as simple as the official explanation makes it seem. There are a couple of reasons why Diddy might want Kim out of sight and out of mind. Most convincingly of all, there's a rumor that she was writing a book revealing Diddy's true character and the abusive nature of their longtime relationship in the year leading up to her death. Knowing what we know now about how Diddy treats women, it's not unbelievable that his relationship with Kim Porter was similar to the one with Cassie later on. There are still even deeper theories that many people online have used to point out a possibly even more sinister story behind the curtain. Kim Porter's autopsy was left inconclusive for over 2 months, not confirming pneumonia until some time later when a new coroner was assigned to the case. There's also a discussion around how pneumonia, the sickness that killed her, can infamously be induced with ricin, a chemical poison that can be extracted from castor beans. None of this is fully confirmed on the record, but there's still a lot of noise around Kim Porter's death because it's understandably difficult to identify identify what parts of Diddy's possible involvement might hold water or be completely false. Trying to learn more about her relationship with Diddy is only made more difficult since the publishing of a completely false fan fiction memoir of Kim Porter that shot to bestseller status on Amazon in just a few days. It was almost immediately removed from the site, though, when it was discovered that this book was totally fictitious. Containing a number of ridiculous claims, it took a lot of the rumors about Diddy to an extreme level that seemed much more like fan fiction than actual reporting. Even more, the author Chris Todd had used an African-American pen name, Jamal Millwood, despite looking like this. All that is to say, the life and death of Kim Porter remains shrouded in mystery and speculation. While official reports attribute her untimely passing to pneumonia, the circumstances surrounding her death have fueled countless conspiracy theories. The rumors of a tell-all book being near completion just before she died, the unusual autopsy timeline, the unfortunate death of her coroner just a few weeks after the investigations against Diddy began, these whispers of foul play have cast a long shadow over Diddy's relationship with Kim. Whether these theories hold any truth, or they might just be online conspiracies, I can't tell you that. But the tragic loss of Kim Porter at the age of only 47, regardless of its cause, is just another strange chapter in Diddy's life that only goes to further support the charges against him. Still though, somehow, Diddy's relationship with Kim is just the tip of the iceberg. Jennifer Lopez is another person Diddy was romantically linked to for some time, and she is still around to tell the story today. Not that she seems very much like she wants to at all. Ever since the accusations against Diddy came out, reporters, paparazzi, and the general public have been taking a close look at her to see what her response might be, especially since she was notably present on the night of the shooting that ruined bad boy artist Shine's life, landing him in prison for 10 years for a crime that multiple witnesses and experts said he didn't commit, while Diddy testified against him regardless. At one recent event, she abruptly left an autograph signing after being asked about the nature of her relationship with Diddy. Understandably, being asked to recall your relationship with an accused sexual predator isn't a pleasant situation to be forced into. She's previously described their time together as tempestuous and emotionally exhausting, with multiple sources citing that Diddy's cheating ended their relationship prematurely. However, her ex-husband has also claimed that she attended several controversial parties with Diddy while they were dating. Multiple times in recent months, Jennifer Lopez has done her absolute best to ignore and escape questioning about her connection to Diddy. But if you run away at the mention of his name, it sounds more and more like there's something you actively want to hide. But there was one woman brave enough to share exactly what she knew about Diddy. Suddenly, in November of 2023, Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, an accomplished model and singer with multiple Billboard hits, filed a 35-page lawsuit against him with a list of horrifying accusations, confirming almost everything people had ever said about Diddy and more at the same time. The lawsuit started with an almost morbidly funny preliminary statement that goes like this. In 2022, Mr. Combs received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the BET Awards. During his acceptance speech, Mr. Combs stated, "I have to give a special shout out, thank you, to the people who were really there for me." He named a number of people before adding, "and also Cassie, for holding me down in the dark times." The truth, however, is that Cassie, Miss Cassandra Ventura, was instead held down by Mr. Combs. But then it gets serious. The content of this lawsuit is disturbing, and the wording may be altered to avoid restrictions on the video. I'm not going to read it all, but it's important to hear some of it. Miss Ventura endured over a decade of Diddy's violent behavior and disturbed demands. For Miss Ventura, the dark times were those she spent trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse, violence, and trafficking. Among other violent and unlawful acts, Mr. Combs assaulted Miss Ventura in her own home after she tried to leave him, often physically attacked her, resulting in bruises, bleeding, and more, blew up a man's car after he learned that he was romantically interested in Miss Ventura, forced Miss Ventura to engage with male sex workers while filming events, demanded that Miss Ventura carry a firearm in her purse just to make her uncomfortable, and introduced Miss Ventura to a lifestyle of excessive alcohol and substance abuse. Being over 35 pages long, the lawsuit is too much to read here, but there's some really disturbing stuff that sounds almost unbelievable to any reasonable person. In the process of describing how Diddy spent years gradually assuming complete control of Cassie's life and finances, there's a section about halfway through titled, "Mr. Combs Forces Miss Ventura into Sex Trafficking." Before I get started though, again, this stuff is terrible. It's not for sensitive ears. This section, while far too disturbing to be allowed in a YouTube video without them restricting it, details a pattern of alleged sexual abuse, coercion, and exploitation that Ventura claims she endured during her long relationship with Diddy. It depicts these events in graphic detail. Combs allegedly forced Ventura into sexual encounters with male sex workers, which he called freak-offs. These encounters reportedly involved drug use, took place in various hotels around the world, and occurred frequently. Ventura claims she was required to facilitate facilitate these encounters, including finding sex workers and performing with them. These encounters reportedly caused severe anxiety and physical illness for Ventura, as well as giving her severe reactions to the numerous drugs she was forced to intake. The lawsuit also mentions an incident where Combs allegedly dangled Ventura's friend over a hotel balcony. When this lawsuit was filed, it was like a bomb went off. Diddy has already been seen for years as a weird, strange figure in the music industry, but after this, he immediately went from being a creepy uncle to a straight-up monster doing the unthinkable. He couldn't lie or hide. And the rest of the lawsuit just gets worse and worse. The descriptions of what Diddy put Cassie through are graphic and disturbing, and I can't say them out loud on YouTube, let alone the fact that it feels disgusting to read the whole thing for yourself. It's 35 pages of terror. Diddy paid a $30 million settlement just one day after the lawsuit was filed. He put out a smug and repulsive statement saying that we have decided to resolve the matter amicably, wishing Cassie and her family all the best. Cassie got what she deserved, closure in the form of a ridiculous amount of money, but it didn't matter. The floodgates were open now, because Diddy's behavior quite clearly wasn't isolated. It most likely wasn't just one person. It seemed in all likelihood to be something he built his whole life around, a pathological obsession that he would go to any length to carry out. It had ruined Cassie's life, and it was about to be revealed in full. Over the next few months, many more lawsuits would be filed against Diddy. All of them accused Diddy of systematically having a lifestyle centered around doing horrible things to other people. One of the most disturbing lawsuits came from Rodney Lil Rod Jones, a Grammy-nominated producer who worked closely with Diddy for 14 months, producing 9 songs for his album Off the Grid. In a lawsuit he filed in February of 2024, he claimed to have evidence of the following: Meek Mill on Diddy's yacht consorting with underage individuals, Diddy giving laced drinks to underage individuals at his home, and Usher in Diddy's home consorting with underage individuals. There was also a long list of things Diddy did to abuse Rodney, throughout a long process of trying to convince him that he would make sure he would win Producer of the Year at the Grammys if he agreed to engage in homosexuality with him. In the lawsuit, it's written like this. Throughout his time living with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was the victim of constant, unsolicited, unauthorized groping and touching of his body parts by Mr. Combs. These events took place in Los Angeles, New York, Florida, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. In addition to the unsolicited and unauthorized touching, Mr. Jones was forced by Mr. Combs to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom as Mr. Combs walked around naked and showered in a clear glass enclosure. As a heterosexual Christian man, Mr. Jones was uncomfortable with Mr. Combs' advances and expressed his discomfort to Mr. Combs' chief of staff, who responded with, "You know, Sean will be Sean." The chief of staff also attempted to downplay Mr. Combs' groping of Mr. Jones as friendly horseplay, stating that those acts were his way of showing that he likes you. There was a lot more. The lawsuit is 73 pages long. It even includes photographic evidence of Cuba Gooding Jr. forcing himself on Rodney Jones, something that he has a long and public history of doing. The suit also includes graphic details about Christina Coram, Diddy's long-running chief of staff, describing her as equivalent to Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's former assistant who was convicted of sex trafficking and is now serving 20 years in prison. The lawsuit says this about Christina Coram. It was important to defendant Coram to have Mr. Combs' drug of choice immediately ready whenever he asks for it. Defendant Coram required all employees from the butler to the chef to the housekeepers to walk around with a pouch filled with cocaine, GHB, ecstasy, marijuana, and Tusi. Defendant Coram also ordered sex workers and prostitutes for Mr. Combs. She ordered and distributed ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, mushrooms, and more to Mr. Combs and his guests who were present on his rented yacht and in his homes in LA, New York City, and Miami. On multiple occasions, she forced Mr. Jones to carry Mr. Combs' drug pouch against his will. Talking in an interview 6 months after the lawsuit was filed, Rodney Jones revealed that he was living in hiding, unable to find work in the music industry and afraid for his life. He said this: "He's a monster. He'll do whatever is necessary to get exactly what he wants. He doesn't take no for an answer." Diddy's lawyers immediately filed to dismiss the lawsuit from Rodney Jones, calling it a cash grab, but it was far too late. The court of public opinion had already decided that everything in it was believable enough to take it and run. Even with relatively minimal evidence, at least from an outside standpoint, people made up their minds that Diddy was indeed a monster. Months before the feds ever came to pick him up, his career was already over. You go to old Facebook posts about Christina Coram, not even a public figure before she got named, and hundreds of people are leaving comments calling for her to go to jail, calling her evil and disgusting. Diddy's own Ghislaine Maxwell. And again, this is before Diddy got arrested. Not long after Lil Rod, Dawn Richard filed her own lawsuit. As a member of the girl group Danity Kane, the first girl group in history to have their first 2 albums debut at #1, and a former client of Diddy's Bad Boy Records, she knew Diddy very well. She wrote a number of things about her business and personal relationship with Diddy, starting with an affirmation that she herself witnessed Diddy's abuse against Cassie on many occasions. Dawn herself, though, was also a victim of Diddy's abuse. All the way back when she met him in 2004 while competing on his MTV show Making the Band, she wrote that Diddy often forced her and her bandmates to rehearse for up to 48 hours straight without food or breaks, with him instilling a culture of fear in all of the women he worked with. She also wrote that as she continued to work with him after her band broke up, he would often force her to take meetings with him while he was in his underwear or grope her body parts during stylist fittings before concerts and videos. She also wrote about a specific instance in 2010 when he tried to punch her in the face after she asked him to stop verbally abusing her in professional environments. Some of the most disturbing lawsuits filed against Diddy, though, have a different set of victims of a very specific age group. There are also other lawsuits that contain a number of claims so horrible I can't read the details on YouTube without this video getting restricted or even taken down. But it does beg the question of whether or not some of these allegations are even real, or if people are just chasing a payout like Cassie Ventura deservedly received. Fraudulent lawsuits are common in Hollywood, but before you make up your mind, I recommend looking into Tony Busby, the lawyer who's representing most of Diddy's alleged victims, having already filed dozens of lawsuits against Diddy, claiming he will be filing at least 100 more. Some of the unnamed yet alleged accusers claim to have been under 18 at the time of their interactions with Diddy, with some as young as 10. And Tony Busby himself is a high-profile lawyer with a pretty bad reputation in his hometown of Houston, Texas, notably having previously served as a defense lawyer on the impeachment trial of a Texas politician who had previously been fined by the SEC for securities fraud and accused of political bribery and corruption. However, Tony Busby also prosecuted NFL player Deshaun Watson in a case that resulted in the settling of over 20 claims of sexual misconduct. It's difficult to make a call on whether or not Tony Busby seems like the type of lawyer to file any old claim in the hopes of making a quick buck. Over 120 lawsuits is a shocking amount, but no amount of evil is unbelievable when it comes to what we already know has been confirmed with pictures and video proof of Diddy's actions. Regardless, though, it doesn't matter. No one watching this video has access to Diddy's personal messages, his archives, his texts, or any other inside information that could reveal the truth once and for all. But there is someone who does: the Department of Homeland Security. There were dozens of other lawsuits against Diddy that came out across 2024, and there are still more coming out regularly. The most important one of all, though, was the one that was titled The United States of America versus Sean Combs. The feds don't arrest you immediately. It took about 10 months from Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy until the day when they put him in cuffs in the lobby of a New York City hotel. The reason for this delay was simple: the feds never lose. On the website of the Pew Research Center, you can find statistics about federal criminal conviction rates. In 2022, fewer than 1% of federal criminal defendants were acquitted. That's only 290 people out of 71,000 being let off the hook. But an even more surprising number is that only 1.9% of cases in total went to trial at all. That's because the overwhelmingly common result of being indicted by the feds in 90% of cases is that you plead guilty. The feds are so thorough, so on top of their business, that almost no one ever gets let off. The reason why is because they only charge winning cases. Some of the more high-profile federal cases in history have been people like Charles Manson, the conviction of the Unabomber, people like El Chapo, or a long list of international terrorists. The United States government is not going to come after you unless they are very sure you did it. That's why 90% of people who get charged by them just plead guilty to avoid possibly even greater charges and punishment if they take it to trial. The federal government would not risk the hit to their reputation by even allowing the chance of falsely charging a high-profile celebrity. There is no way. It has not happened in the past. And the feds? They took their time with Diddy, because Diddy was still walking around as a free man for months after these lawsuits were coming out. It took over 10 months from the day Cassie filed her lawsuit and cratered Diddy's reputation forever, immediately causing the severance of his sponsor deals and the cancellation of any public appearances, to the day that he got arrested. Even though he was cooked immediately, at least in the public eye, he was still a free man, but real consequences weren't far behind. Because shortly after Cassie's lawsuit was fired, it seems like the federal government, specifically the Department of Homeland Security, an agency normally known for preventing terrorism and securing the national borders, started taking a pretty close look at Diddy. Just 4 months after Cassie's lawsuit and 1 month after Rodney Jones' lawsuit, the DHS showed up at Diddy's house to take a look around. In March, they raided his homes in Miami and LA, seizing over 95 electronic devices and reportedly also finding illegal ghost guns and ammo in in his house. That same day, Diddy was stopped at an airport just moments before he was going to board his personal jet on a flight to the Caribbean island of Antigua. Whether or not he was trying to flee the US is unconfirmed, but either way, he was not allowed on his own plane and remained in the US. He then spent another 6 months essentially in hiding, knowing the feds were watching him closely and building a case against him. And it wasn't until 7 months after Cassie's lawsuit, when CNN released a disturbing video clip proving her accusations once and for all, that Diddy finally broke his silence. And so with any denial going out the window, he dropped a half-assed, ridiculous apology for what he had done, or at least the part he was caught on camera doing, with no acknowledgement of anything else at all. One of Cassie Ventura's attorneys responded with this: Mr. Combs' most recent statement is more about himself than the many people he has hurt. When Cassie and multiple other women came forward, he denied everything and suggested that his victims were looking for a payday. The fact that he was only compelled to apologize once his repeated denials were proven false shows his pathetic desperation, and no one will be swayed by his disingenuous words. Regardless, though, the feds eventually came and got him after a couple more months of investigation. It was then that the wildest lawsuit of all was filed: the United States of America versus Sean Combs. There are 3 federal charges against Diddy. Count 1 is racketeering conspiracy. Count 2 is sex trafficking by force, and count 3 is transportation to engage in prostitution. It's very revealing of Diddy's true character to see how he reacted to the accusations against him, even before the federal lawsuit came out, because the position that he and everyone around him would take from then on was denial. Diddy himself denied everything. He had his team denying everything. He was still making statements proclaiming his innocence, and up to the last minute, he was disparaging his victims. A massive misplay in light of everything that was coming out, especially knowing that the feds were looking at it. Most sane people, innocent or not, if they had things like this coming out about them, would go into hiding. That's what Harvey Weinstein did. Before he was arrested, he said nothing. He completely left the public eye. Diddy, though, his lack of self-awareness was on a whole other level. Just a few weeks after Cassie's lawsuit came out, one anonymous woman accused Diddy of sexually assaulting her at his recording studio in the early 2000s, with the papers being filed by the same lawyer who represented Cassie with her lawsuit, with that lawyer also having represented accusers against several other powerful figures like Bill O'Reilly and Harvey Weinstein in the past. The exact details of this anonymous lawsuit are a bit too much to read on YouTube, but notably it includes photographic proof of the accuser's visit to Diddy's studio, with even some photographs of her sitting on his lap. Diddy's response, though, was a massive mistake, and it calls back again to the overconfidence and narcissism we discussed earlier. He said this in a public statement: "For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroying my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday." He also said, "Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth." Knowing now that Diddy was being investigated by the federal government, and he was putting out statements of complete denial, trying to make other people look bad, knowing now that there was video proof about to be released of him abusing Cassie, the picture that this statement paints has guilty spelled out in red ink all over the paper. Even after the federal investigation that led to Diddy's arrest and charges, another absurd and smug side of the situation was his family's reaction. Diddy has 7 children, many of whom are adults, and ever since Diddy was arrested, denied bail, and had a trial date set, they're still coming out with statements on Instagram saying things like this: "The past month has devastated our family. Many have judged both him and us based on accusations, conspiracy theories, and false narratives that have spiraled into absurdity on social media. We stand united, supporting you every step of the way. We hold on to the truth, knowing it will prevail, and nothing will break the strength of our family. We miss you and love you, Dad." Again, this is after video proof was shown of Diddy brutally beating his girlfriend. Diddy's mother, Janice, even wrote a letter in support of him, and it's one of the most smug, disgusting things you can possibly read. In the letter, she completely excuses his actions and even uses bizarre guilt trip tactics to make his accusers look bad. She wrote things like this: "I am devastated and profoundly saddened. This seems to be like a public lynching of my son before he has the opportunity to prove his innocence." It's some of the most self-righteous, ridiculous writing I've ever read. Referring to Diddy being held accountable as a public lynching is insane and a horrible insult to the actual victims. "Watching the world make jokes and laugh at my son's life crumbling before our eyes is something I'll never forget. It is truly agonizing to watch the world turn against my son so quickly and easily over lies, without ever affording him the opportunity to present his side. These lies thrown at him are motivated by those seeking a financial gain, not justice. This injustice has been unbearable for my family. My son is not the monster they painted him to be. I can only pray I am alive to see him speak his truth and be vindicated." If that isn't a ridiculous response to your son getting arrested by the federal government for sexually abusing people, I don't know what is. Even Diddy's own Instagram account has these strangely smug posts celebrating his youngest daughter's second birthday. It's not really something that would stick out if he wasn't in jail for trafficking people, but knowing what we know, it's almost creepy and weird to see him and his team pretending everything's okay when the entire world knows the truth. Diddy already denied everything he did to Cassie and then ended up admitting it once the proof came out. So how could anyone believe what he's saying outside of that? And it's almost easy to see his family gathering around him and talking about how the truth will prevail and say, hey, you know, they know him best. Maybe there's some truth to what he's saying. But looking deeper, the real reason why Diddy's kids are standing by him might be because they aren't too different from him. His son Christian was recently named in a lawsuit against Diddy and himself for assaulting a woman in 2022, with an audio recording from the scene being included.
You guys, there's more co-conspiracy. They got a list of a lot of celebrities. Within another month or so, y'all about to start seeing some shocking secret reveal, new shocking stories.
The filing. That's not to say Diddy's kids are all involved in his crimes or anything like that, but with their father being an influential billionaire, they stand to lose a lot if he goes away and gain much more if he remains free. But there's one thing
I'm gonna need y'all to smash that like button. I got 55 people here and I ain't got no likes. Wait a minute, I got 64 people here and I ain't got no likes. I'm gonna need y'all to smash that like button. Smash the like button. Let's get those likes to go up. I got 64 people and I ain't got no likes. Y'all hate me? Do y'all hate me for real? Y'all hate me, man. I ain't got one like, man. But 64 people here and I ain't got no likes. Y'all must hate me, man. Y'all must hate a brother, man. Let's get these likes to go up, man. I ain't got no likes, man. It's not going to even help my YouTube algorithm, man. Get these likes up. Come on, get these likes up. I got one like. I got one person. Let's get these likes up. Come on, let's get 10, 15 likes. I got 48 people here. Let's get these likes to go up.
Is right about the fact that the case has become a media circus. That is mostly on Diddy's side. With his kids and mother defending him despite the mountain of evidence, it's a terrible look. They're not alone though. Even Diddy's lawyer called the federal prosecutors racist and claimed that they were trying to bring down a successful black man with their charges. At the same time as he was making strange excuses for Diddy being in possession of massive amounts of baby oil, saying it was just how Diddy likes to shop at Costco, buying in bulk. It's almost like everyone involved on Diddy's side can't help themselves but to make outright ridiculous excuses that make no sense at all. I think it shouldn't be a surprise that Diddy's former legal team quit all the way back in June, realizing the case mounting against them was a losing one that they wanted nothing to do with. And I think it should also be mentioned that Diddy's new lawyer was mentored earlier in his career by Harvey.
I got 2 likes in that, you know what I mean, in the building, man. I got 50 people in the building and I got 2 likes. Y'all hate me? I got 2 likes. 50 people in the building, I got 2 likes. I got 56 people, 58 people in the building, I got 2 likes. Let's get them likes to go up, y'all. I'll wait. I'll wait. I'll wait. Let's get these likes to go up, y'all. Y'all hate me so bad, man. I got 2 likes, man. And I got 55 people in the building, man. Let's get these likes to go up, y'all. New shocking stories. They got co-conspirators, y'all. They got a list of these celebrities, man. Justin Bieber is going to tell on Diddy. There's a lot of people going to put Diddy on the bus, man. Jay-Z's next. Beyonce next. Oh, man. What about if I tell you guys about Will Smith, man? All these people at these freak-off parties, man. LeBron. Even Dwight Howard. Let's roll this footage, man. I got 2 likes, and I need you guys to like this video, man. Let's get these likes to go up.
Weinstein's defense attorney. Not long ago, Diddy's lawyers filed a motion demanding that the names of his accusers be published to prevent fraudulent false accusations against him. And while maybe that makes sense hypothetically, in reality, it turns out that there was a darker, evil side to that request as well. According to prosecutors from an article released just a day after he was arrested, he repeatedly contacted witnesses and victims in the months leading up to his arrest, even offering to pay a victim's rent if she would agree to publicly support him in return. Somehow, he still continued to be straight up evil, even while facing jail for the rest of his life. His ego not letting him realize he should have gone in.
Okay, Diddy, his plan was to help black people, man, but we seen Sean Combs hourly witness tampering, gaslighting, and dangle payments. You guys get these lights to go up, man. Diddy is in a lot of trouble. If he gets found convicted, he can face 15 or life in prison. Diddy is going to snitch, man. He's not going down by himself, y'all. I just want to say that. He's not going to go down by himself. But they got new, cold conspirators. It's not looking good, fam. This is not looking good. But I got 56 people in the building, and I got 2 likes. Come on, y'all. Y'all can do better than this, man. Y'all can do better than this, man. Let's get 3 more likes on here, man. Y'all don't like me, man? Y'all don't like me, man? Come on, man. I got 3 likes. I got 71 people in the building, man. Let's get these likes to go up. Y'all don't like a player, man? Come on, let's get some likes to go up. Smash that like button for me. Smash the like button.
Hiding and shut his mouth a long time ago. That particular victim had texted Diddy to tell him that Cassie's lawsuit was shockingly similar to her own experience with him, only to have him try to bribe her with money on a call that was recorded and is in the possession of prosecutors. From Rolling Stone, Combs' alleged witness tampering was a focal point of Southern District of New York prosecutors' argument that he should remain in federal custody as the high-profile case heads to trial. The former billionaire's long history of obstruction and violence demonstrates that the defendant simply cannot overcome the presumption that no condition or combination of conditions can ensure the safety of the community. His influence makes it difficult to ensure that witnesses can share their experiences and trust that the government can keep them safe, said attorney Emily Johnson, one of the prosecutors. In the months leading up to Combs' indictment, prosecutors claimed that Combs and his co-conspirators had constant contact with witnesses over several different methods, sometimes after the witnesses received subpoenas to testify in front of a grand jury. After the feds picked him up and brought him to jail in September, Diddy asked for bail 3 times, offering up a $50 million bond payment, yet he was denied each time by the judges on the case, with concerns of him being a flight risk and the past precedent of witness intimidation. He currently still sits in a cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center, a notoriously horrific facility. Other former inmates of note include R. Kelly, his cellmate Sam Bankman-Fried, and even Ghislaine Maxwell, a key figure in Jeffrey Epstein's criminal enterprise, among many others. And that's where Diddy's story basically ends. Once a billionaire businessman, an executive and producer known around the world, one of the biggest figures in Hollywood, running one of the biggest 90s and 2000s hip-hop labels ever, helping create some of the largest artists of the time, and being one of the most influential people in entertainment, he now faces 3 counts that, if convicted for all of them, will result.
He's got 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. Man, you think this thing is over? Man, they got more people. They got a list of celebrities, man. You got people that's fleeing from Hollywood, man. But you guys smash that like button for me, man. I need you guys to smash that like button for me. I got 69 people in the building and I got 3 likes. Come on, man. For real. This is y'all MO, man. 69 people in the building, man. And I got 3 likes. This is y'all MO, man. This is how y'all gonna treat a player, man. For real. 59 people in the building. I got 3 likes, man. For real. That's how y'all feel. I love you guys, man. I love you guys. And I got 62 people in the building. I got 3 likes, man. 3 likes, man.
In a sentence of at least 15 years, with the possibility for life in prison. And there are still more accusations and evidence coming out on a regular basis. What I'm trying to say here is that Diddy's cards are on the table. The feds know what he did. They know what he's in for. I've said it once and I'll say it again. 90% of people who get indicted on federal charges just plead guilty immediately to avoid even worse punishment that might happen at a trial. Diddy making all these statements about his innocence, pleading not guilty, his family sticking by him, it means nothing when we've seen a pile of evidence from videos to texts to Diddy's own personal history of being involved with scamming artists out of their royalties, possibly being linked to people's mysterious deaths, and having inappropriate...
Hey, Diddy's in trouble. They said that he's involved in Kim Porter's death, Biggie, Pops. He put Shine in prison for 10 years. Come on. This sound like, can he be a serious hero? This sound like a crook. I don't want to bust some of you guys' bubble book, but they got a list, man. They got a list of these Hollywood celebrities, man. But I got 45 people in the building, 47 people in the building. I ain't got no likes, man. I got 3 likes, man. This is how y'all doing me, man. I'm gonna play the video, man.
Relationships with underage boys. Denying anything that Homeland Security accuses you of doing when the entire world has seen the evidence against you is only further proof that while Diddy might have been a savvy businessman or a clever entertainer, he's ultimately stupid. But that's just Diddy's story. And it might be a dramatic story for sure. Diddy goes from being a kid in Harlem, growing up without a dad, to a key player in the 90s hip-hop and R&B scenes, to a household name with more endorsements.
See, when you grow up without a daddy in your life, man, this is how you grow up. You grow up fast, man. You got to make decisions. You got to make these rash decisions, man. I'm not trying to sit here and say Diddy was a bad person. He was very educated growing up. But when you ain't got a dad in your life, man, it takes a dad. You know what I mean? It takes a dad to raise you. But Diddy had to find out his own, man. You know, when you get into that Hollywood lifestyle, man, this is what they have you do, man. You know, man, you know, this, all we can do, man, is trying to pray for this brother, man. You know, I don't wish nobody downfall. I don't wish bad on nobody, man. But this is sad, man. This is sad, y'all. This is sad.
Connections and money than one person could ever know what to do with, to even becoming the third figure in hip-hop history to ever be a billionaire. For many people, Diddy was known as a guy who opened schools, founded charities, and represented success against all odds. He went to great lengths to give himself this good image, an inspiring image for the black community. But even that was a facade, as all he ever did behind closed doors was exploit and abuse other black people. Ultimately, his persona was a mask so full of holes that it's difficult to believe a human could even do what he did. Looking deep into the allegations against him, looking at his history, I mean, even looking at his music career where he did nothing but exploit others as much as he possibly could for over 30 years, the life and actions of Diddy alone are enough to make a horror movie out of. But still, somehow, the mystery isn't over. Even though he's behind bars, the book isn't closed yet, because the big hole in the plot is Diddy's network. It's very telling that when the law started to shine their light on Diddy, the silence that followed was deafening. The lack of response from his peers, his friends, it says 1,000 words. Because the one thing Diddy always was popular. He was friends with Oprah and Ellen. He was always on the late night shows. He was referenced in pop songs. He was in many photos with different politicians over the years.
Ain't no party like a Diddy party, man. You can't, look, man, LeBron can't hide, man. Ain't no party like a Diddy's party, man. They got pictures of this, man. You can't make this kind of stuff up, fam. But I need y'all to smash that like button, though. If y'all love me, let's get 2 or 3 likes on here, man. Let's get 2 or 3 likes on here. I got 3 likes. I got 56 people on. Y'all act like y'all can't even hear me. Y'all want to hear the story, but y'all don't want to hit that like button for me. Y'all don't want to smash that like button for me, man. Man, what's up with YouTube, man? I ain't getting no kind of love, man. But I can make a video and go into TikTok and put a video up, and that video can go viral just like that, man. Come on, y'all, man. Let's get this like to go up, man. Smash that like button, man. Smash that like button.
mention his longtime friendships with people like LeBron, Jay-Z, and countless other A-listers. When Diddy gets arrested and a life of abuse and crime is revealed, it throws every public relationship he ever had into question. And with no one coming to his defense, and dozens if not hundreds of other figures who have been known to associate with him going totally silent, it seems to point to something much, much bigger than one guy acting alone.
Where your friends when you need them, man? Where everybody at when you need them, man? Everybody leaving Hollywood, man. They're afraid that Diddy's gonna snitch, man. Come on, man. You got all these people was friends to Diddy, man. But where they at? Where they at? Where they at when you need them? It's sad, man.
And when you combine that long list of friends with the ever-increasing disturbing level of stories that just keep coming out about what happened behind the scenes at Diddy's parties, the implication gets pretty serious. It's very difficult to separate fact from fiction when it comes to the history of Diddy and his personal connections. Just because someone appears in a photo or a video at Diddy's house doesn't mean they can be implicated in a sex trafficking scandal. At the same time, though, there are a number of people who stick out above the hundreds of artists, politicians, actors, and socialites who have associated with Diddy over the years, to the point where most people seem to agree it doesn't make sense for them to not have known what was going on behind closed doors. Looking back at the beginning of Diddy,
even the President Trump was at his parties, man. Trump's wife was at these freaks off, man. Come on, man. You got politicians, you got presidents. Come on, man. You got Al Sharpton at these parties, man. You got a whole list of people at these parties, man, at these freak off parties, man.
Diddy's career, there's one name that comes up more than any others: Clive Davis. Clive Davis is a massively influential record producer and music executive from New York that has won 5 Grammy Awards and helped build the careers of many artists.
Let me tell you about this guy, Clive Davis, man. How he got Prince killed, man. Prince was set up, man. The industry, man, the industry getting exposed. Hollywood gonna get exposed, man. And if Diddy gotta go down, I guarantee you, he gonna bring a whole camp right along with him, man. I won't bet you about $1, man, that if Diddy goes down, if he go underneath the jail, man, there's a list of people that's gonna go down. The feds, man, they got the tapes, man. They got the tapes, man. Diddy got a tape that's worth 500 million that's going around, man. I won't be surprised, y'all. I won't be surprised who's on his tapes, who's in these freaks off. They got a bed, a 50-inch bed that everybody was in his bedroom on the freak off, man. The feds know, man. And when more people, when you get more people come forward, not gonna look good. Hey, you guys smash this like button. I got 55 people on. Smash the like button for me. Please smash the like button. That's all I'm asking. Smash this like button for me.
Including Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, Dionne Warwick, Sly and the Family Stone, Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joel, Pink Floyd, and countless others. Essentially, he did what Diddy did for the music industry, but in the 70s and the 80s. Despite having a huge influence on the sound of modern music, though, Clive Davis...
Did you guys know Clive Davis has something to do with Whitney Houston death? He sinned Ray J. Come on, man. The industry ain't what y'all think it is, y'all. It ain't what y'all think it is. A lot of people go to Hollywood just because of the glamorous lights and things like that, man. Hollywood, y'all, if I was to tell y'all how Hollywood was when you had these Rothschilds, see, the Hollywood is owned by Jews, man. You can't get 6 figures without you doing these rituals, these homosexual acts, man. I'm telling y'all, man, there's a boss in here to all this, man. You think Diddy? You think Diddy did all this by himself? Diddy was bribed. Someone bribed Diddy into all this, man. Come on, y'all. Let this make sense, y'all. Someone actually bribed Diddy into doing all this, man. You think this man did all this by himself, man? Come on, man.
His own story is stained by a long history of corruption and abuse. The start of his career was marked by him getting fired when he used company funds to pay for his son's bar mitzvah. And although most discussions of his behavior behind the scenes are scrubbed from the internet, there are rumors about his personality that persist to this day. Specifically, the questionable circumstances that led to the founding of Diddy's Bad Boy Records, the home of Biggie Smalls, Maze, and more. You see, when Diddy got fired from his first music industry job after just a couple of years of experience, it was Clive Davis that funded the beginning of Diddy's next project, giving Diddy a $50 million advance to get started on Bad Boy Records. That in itself wasn't a reason to be suspicious, but rumors have gone around for many years that Clive Davis was originally willing to give Diddy opportunities on the condition that they would have an intimate relationship similarly to what Diddy may have had with his artists, perpetuating the same type of behavior that Diddy himself would go on to use as a means of controlling others in the industry. Nothing has ever been confirmed, but Clive Davis's own character, including his appearance at a party while his artist Whitney Houston had just been discovered passed away in the same building, only asks more questions than it answers, painting a picture of a complex web of evil that goes much deeper than just Diddy himself. There are many other names that Diddy's been associated with when it comes to abusive artists like L.A. Reid or Andre Harrell, some of his early industry mentors, but it's probably hard to prove, and I doubt more information is coming out anytime soon, with many of these figures being elderly or passed away long ago. All of that is to say, Diddy certainly wasn't the first or the last person to exploit artists in one way or another. But of course, it doesn't stop there. The point of looking at Diddy's connections is to identify that, while not everyone Diddy knows was necessarily engaging in the terrible things he was doing, it's difficult to imagine that these people don't know what Diddy.
My boyfriend took our money and dipped. I'm just gonna make the money.
Producer Issa Rae.
We can pay you $70 for a pint.
On January 17th.
If I donate more, will I get more money? I gave 4 back.
I told her not to do that.
One of Them Days. Directed by Lawrence Lamont. In theaters January 17th. Rated R.
The proceeds from donated vehicles directly benefit the local Make-A-Wish chapter, funding life-changing wishes. With the support from partners like Wheels for Wishes, you can help restore hope when hope is needed most.
Visit wheelsforwishes.org.
Prepping a delicious dinner doesn't have to be expensive or time-consuming.
Bird's Eye Voila is a delicious family dinner at a great price.
Shop an entire Sephora inside your local Kohl's. It's the real deal. Starting today, anyone can monetize with ads. As part of the all-new Beehive ad network, thousands of newsletters already
looking the other way, at the very least. Although, many of the people around Diddy look at least a little suspicious of taking part in his evil ways. Meek Mill started vehemently denying that he had anything to do with Diddy at all after countless videos.
He's in that water, man. His butt hurts, man. He got his butt blown out, man. Come on, man. Y'all can't make this shit up, man. What goes down in Hollywood, man. That nigga got his butt blown out, man. Come on, man. Y'all can't make this stuff up, fam.
Clips of him and Diddy's strangely intimate interactions were publicized, painting a picture of a close relationship behind the scenes. Similarly, the Kardashian family were once close friends and supporters of Diddy, with a then 20-year-old Justin Bieber, where many of the attendees were completely naked. And that's just one example of the Kardashian family talking about Diddy the same way you would talk about having a favorite coworker.
So who was with you this weekend? A bunch of my friends. Diddy, Quincy, Justin Bieber, so far so Montana.
This party, half the people there were butt naked.
Another strange connection is Diddy's relationship with Oprah Winfrey, the billionaire TV host known for her inspiring success story and empathetic personality. She not only attended many of Diddy's infamous parties, but
they getting exposed, y'all. One by one, Oprah. Hey, they getting exposed and they hiding, man. They getting exposed today, man. Oprah Winfrey was on the freak off, man. Diddy had her, man. Diddy had Oprah, man.
is also known for a close relationship with Harvey Weinstein. There's an absurdity to the self-congratulatory short films.
Oh, hey, you see this? This is why Jay-Z guilty today. And Jay-Z coming out that room, it's nothing but girls in that room. And you know what he said? He said, "Oh, you put that thing on up. Oh, you put that thing on up." You know what he mean by that? You put that GHB on them. Oh, you drugged them. You put that thing on them. You see coming out that room, man? Nothing but girls, man. Look, man, this thing is far from over, y'all. There's a list of co-conspirators, man. We ain't making this up, fam. He's coming out the room with nothing but girls, man. Telling Diddy, ooh, you put that thing on up. Ooh, you put that thing on up.
Where Diddy is standing with Jay-Z in the mirror talking about black excellence while they drink champagne, and meanwhile, Diddy is running a sex trafficking empire behind the scenes, and somehow no one has any idea he's a monster? With Diddy abusing so many people for so long, it's all but certain that there are many, many people in powerful places who knew exactly what he was really about and just said nothing. Right now, though, we don't know exactly who knows what or to what degree anyone was involved, at least not for sure, but the photographic evidence is damning, to say the least. With Diddy's trial beginning in May, it's almost certain that a lot more will be revealed over time, because Diddy wasn't a shadowy character that stayed out of the spotlight as much as possible. He was in the spotlight for so long that there were almost less people who didn't associate with him than there were people who stood by his side. But Diddy, who once stood at the top of the mountain, the king of the entertainment industry, controlling and influencing so many people.
Wait, man, I got 93 people in the building, man. I got 3 likes, man. Just get the lights go up. Smash that like button for me, man. Smash the like button, man. That's how y'all gonna do me, man. That's how y'all gonna do me, man. Smash the like button for me, man. Y'all don't like me, man? I got 69 people here, man. Smash that like button.
With his face and brands all over the world, is now alone. Not just alone in his cell, but also alone in Hollywood. He's been abandoned by his former friends, with all of them scattering as quietly as they can to get away from his name. The list of...
See, all of them scattering. All the Hollywood people that know him scattering like roaches. So you can run, but you can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide, damn it.
Celebrities coming out in support of Diddy is literally empty. It's 0 people. Not one person who he was previously seen with countless times has said a single word to defend him. Because the fact is that a lot of the entertainment industry, these people's careers are make or break based on public opinion. All of these people, if not perceived as relatable or people you could aspire to be, they stand to lose a lot of money. With their careers being based entirely on how much attention they get, there's a lot of incentive for them to look good. But is there any incentive for them to be good? Not really. It makes sense that a lot of the people who could have spoken out about Diddy wouldn't, at least from their perspective. Why would you risk your own connections, reputation, and income to speak out against someone around you who had immense power and connections and was willing to threaten people who he didn't like? Why would Oprah ever risk her multi-billion-dollar empire and her reputation as a generous, empathetic person for any reason? The same goes for
Look, I agree, man. People flee, man. They don't want to ruin their reputation, man. You know, man, they don't want to ruin their endorsements. Man, come on, there's so much at stake, man. They don't want to ruin that, man. See, when you in that secret society, man, you gotta hush. You gotta hush. But if it, I'm telling you, the Fed got a list. They got a cold conspiracy going on, man, and they got a list, man. So these people gonna have to be forced to tell, man. I'm telling you, man, because it's gonna get to a point. Some people gonna lose their jobs, their career, man. If I'm a billionaire, man, if I'm on the list of these freak off, man, and the Feds got me for questioning, man, you think I'm gonna lose my endorsement? You think I'm gonna lose my career, man? I gotta tell what I know, right? I gotta tell what I know, right? I got 96 people in the building, man. I need y'all to smash this like button, though. 89 people in the building. I need y'all to smash the like button. I got 4 likes, man. And we've been here for over an hour now. Come on, y'all. Man, come on, y'all. Y'all been with me for a minute, man. That's how y'all gonna do me, man. Y'all been here for a minute, man.
Or Kim Kardashian, or LeBron, or Leonardo DiCaprio. You don't get to be where these people are without worshiping money. And when you worship money, there's nothing you'll put before it, not even speaking out against injustice and evil. In some ways, that makes it easier for a celebrity to get away with something horrible than for a random regular person. When everyone around you has a brand to protect and so much at stake, they'll never speak out against the person next to them and risk even the tiniest stain on their manufactured persona of perfection. It's totally possible that the list of people who took part in Diddy's abuse could be smaller than you think, but the list of people who knew about it and were perfectly okay to do nothing is probably a mile long. But in that way, does the difference between those two things even matter? Even more than just turning a blind eye, though, there are a lot of real reasons why crimes like Diddy's wouldn't get exposed, even if many people knew about it. Diddy is known to have threatened people with firearms, stalked people he didn't like as a form of intimidation, and even blew up Kid Cudi's Porsche when he got involved with Cassie during a break in the relationship. He went to great lengths to maintain a dangerous image to the people around him, and was even found to have ghost guns in his house, firearms with serial numbers scratched off that could be more easily used to commit crimes. Basically, many people around Diddy knew that he was willing to do whatever it would take to maintain control. He had no issue threatening or intimidating others, even as we've heard from far back in his music career in the early 90s. Still, though, the silence from Diddy's friends is pretty deafening. It's hard not to start to make assumptions, because if you're associated with someone and they turn out to be a monster and you never knew about it, you would probably tell everybody that you had no idea what was going on. That's exactly the first thing anyone would say about a friend or a coworker or an acquaintance who turns out to be a terrible person. I had no idea. And Diddy had a lot of friends. But suddenly, they're all silent. There's this kind of well-known theory in the aliens community called the Dark Forest Hypothesis. In the Dark Forest Hypothesis, it says that we aren't alone in the universe, but that there are many alien civilizations around us everywhere. It's just that they stay completely silent because they're advanced enough to realize there are many other civilizations who could destroy them instantly. This is obviously hypothetical, but I think it applies to the world of celebrity that Diddy thrived in. If he was the only one involved in the racketeering, the abuse, the trafficking, he would have people selling him up the river immediately. Celebrities love attention. It's their currency. The only reason why that wouldn't be happening is if someone, or maybe everyone, was afraid of what could be said about them if they opened their mouths. Looking at it that way, it makes a lot of sense that almost none of Diddy's peers have said anything about him at all. Tabloids are all over Diddy right now. You never know how real a source might be when it comes to random blogs or magazines, but when it comes to their commentary today, it kind of makes sense. One website wrote this: Diddy is still in total denial, and he actually expected all of his high-profile friends to stand up for him, especially his exes like Cameron Diaz and J-Lo. The source continued, he can't wrap his head around the fact that everyone's dropped him. They said there's a legitimate fear among a huge swath of people in Hollywood that he could seriously embarrass them if he decides to talk about what they shared with him back in the day. There are rumors that he's kept meticulous records and even video recordings of all the crazy stuff that went on his parties over the years, and it's only adding to everyone's panic. The word is, he's got enough dirt to hang half of Hollywood. Of course, these sources could be totally made up, but if it weren't,
you hear that? He have enough dirt that he can make up for Hollywood, man. Wow. I got 120 people in the building. I got 5 likes. Let's get 5 more likes on here, man. Do that for me, man. He got so much dirt that he can fill up Hollywood, man. These people are scared, man. They don't know what they're going to do, man. So much is at stake. People's careers, people's lives is at stake, man. For real, y'all. And rumor is surfing that Beyonce is going to file for a divorce because now Jay-Z don't even want to represent him. Y'all see a lot of y'all thought that Jay-Z going to get off on this case, man. There are more people coming involved, man. Yes. Y'all think Jay-Z scored a win? Nah. The reason why the judge grant is because she had to do what she had to do. But now, Tony Buzzy, he got some new evidence in the case. Y'all don't even know it, man. Jay-Z is just as guilty, man. Beyonce, she just as guilty. She finna separate from Jay-Z. She's asking for a divorce. Y'all ain't, look, y'all ain't hearing it right, man. Y'all ain't really hearing it right, fam. She's on her way filing for a divorce, man.
These celebrities, always so quick to speak out and get some attention, always wanting to make themselves look like heroes or get their name in the news, these people who thrive off of engagement, why are they quiet now? Why would they pass up an opportunity to make themselves look good or to speak out on an important topic? The only logical answer is because what it reflects back on them is either too difficult to talk about, maybe in the case of Justin Bieber or Usher, or because it says something about them as people too. Earlier in the video, I mentioned Diddy's ambition. I think it's clear for a lot of people who reach the point he did, that can be a double-edged sword. With ambition, you can go far. From the bottom of the ladder, growing up without two parents, in poverty, no opportunities around you, then becoming a billionaire, there's so much that could be done with that power and influence. The unfortunate truth is, though, for most people, not just Diddy, the kind of person who gets to that point of wealth, they don't have anything in their heart that stops them from going too far. Hypothetically, a fast car.
You hear that, man? Diddy grew up well. His biological parents, man. It's sad how he grew up, man. He grew up fast, man. And see, when you grow up like that without your parents, without your biological parents, man, you got to make decisions for yourself, man, when you get old. I hate to see that Diddy had to make all these rational decisions, man, with his life, man.
Is useful. If you want to get home to visit a sick family member, going home faster allows you to get home sooner. But if you go too fast and don't pay attention, you might just end up running over 3 old ladies along the way. And so looking at it like that, Diddy's so-called ambition, his empire, it ultimately just became a cover-up for his narcissistic, abusive, psychopathic personality. He wants to be the best. He wants to be a billionaire. He wants to have whatever he wants. But what did he do with all of that energy? He did nothing but build a facade to cover up his pathological need to take advantage of people. I'll quote Cassie's lawyer's.
What he did, he built a whole cassage. You know, with Kim Porter, Kim Porter can't even trust him, man. His infidelity. It's sad, fam. It's just sad that you are a wealthy man, a billionaire, and you can't control yourself, man. See, it don't matter. See, for the love of money is the rule of all evil, y'all. And some people are eager to have it, and they're warning themselves from their faith, and they pierce themselves with harmful lusts and many sorrows. For the love of money is a rule of all evil.
Response to his apology video. They said Combs' most recent statement is more about himself than the people he hurt. The fact that he was only compelled to apologize once his repeated denials were proven false shows his pathetic desperation, and no one will be swayed by his disingenuous words. And that's just Diddy. Looking at the countless people around him who seemed like they were oblivious to his actions at the time, you're left with a chilling realization. There's almost no way Diddy was completely alone. From the Kardashians to Oprah, from Beyonce and Jay-Z to Meek Mill and...
You hear that? He wasn't alone, y'all. He wasn't alone, man. And if the best thing is, if he gets 15 years, if they offer him a 15-year sentence, look, man, I think he's gonna get to a point that he's gonna start telling, man. He's gonna start snitching. Because if that's the deal that they offered, because they gave him a deal, and I think that was the 15 years that they was trying to give him. Diddy ain't stupid, man. He's gonna bring a lot of people with him, man. He's gonna get a lesser sentence before it's done. And it's going to get ugly. I don't think he's going to get a lesser sentence at the end of the day. I think it's going to be a lot of people that turn on him. But he knows something. You know what I mean? So since he knows something, should he use some kind of leverage in his case? Because the whole fingers is pointed towards him. It's not looking good, fam. If Meek Mill tell on Diddy, he's done. Then you got Jimmy Fox. If Jimmy Fox says that Diddy drugged me into the hospital, Diddy's done. If Justin Bieber even say something, Diddy's done. If Usher speaks out, Diddy's done. So he gotta be careful how he rolled the dice, man. You gotta be very careful how he rolled the dice.
Ellen DeGeneres. It's not just about one man's crimes. It's about an entire system that values image and wealth over morality and justice. And as we wait for Diddy's trial in May, you're left wondering, how deep does this rabbit hole go, and who else might be implicated in the web of secrets and lies? The fall of Diddy might just be the first domino in a much larger, more sinister picture, one that could shake the very foundations of Hollywood and the music industry as you know it. You can look back through thousands of photos and videos portraying Diddy as a fun guy, party guy, an entertainer, and knowing what he was really doing to people behind the scenes, it casts a massive shadow over the entirety of Hollywood that he was allowed to do that by his peers in the first place. Diddy obviously isn't the only person like this, though. Bill Cosby, Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, so many others. It's only becoming more and more obvious that influence and power attracts a very specific type of person. In a world where public opinion decides who thrives and who gets forgotten, though, the amount of control Diddy had over the people around him more than likely led to a sort of standoff, where many, if not most people who knew exactly what his true character was, would rather have protected themselves than stand up. Not only is that in itself a horrible injustice, but it begs the question, what else is being kept under wraps? A lot of the contents in this video comes down to conjecture or clues, but with Diddy in prison until his trial in May, it seems like his prosecutors might know exactly what they're looking for. As of right now, though, it's hard to say that the underbelly of the entertainment industry isn't looking more sinister and evil than anyone ever thought was possible before.
Hi, I'm Dr. Harris with the Fibroid Treatment Center.
A fortune of over $2.5 billion, Jay-Z is the wealthiest music artist in the world. He's also been named by Billboard and Forbes as the greatest rapper of all time, with the most #1 albums of any solo artist in any genre ever.
According to Forbes, Hope is officially the first hip-hop artist to become a billionaire, and it's all thanks to his many business endeavors.
Involved with countless lifestyle companies, media outlets, liquor brands, and even a $400 million music streaming service in his portfolio, he redefined what money, power, and success looks like for celebrities and entertainers, while also earning himself exhibits at museums and libraries for his artistic achievements at the same time. But nowadays he moves in silence, tweeting, interviewing, and speaking profoundly infrequently, letting mystery take the place of public appearances and musical output. But now the spotlight is back on him. Several recent accusations have painted him in a different light than ever before, not as an icon to look up to, but instead a reminder of the darkness of the entertainment industry and all the ways it exploits its victims. Even before now, though, Jay-Z's carefully constructed narrative of an inspiring rags-to-riches story has begun to unravel. What once looked like a story of entrepreneurial success now reveals itself as a cautionary tale about the corrupting influence of wealth, power, and greed. As more unsettling truths emerge, people have started questioning the image of Jay-Z that's been presented over the years. So who really is he? A corrupt and greedy liar? One of the greatest artists of all time? Or maybe something in the middle? In Brooklyn, New York in 1982, a 12-year-old named Sean Carter shot his older brother in the shoulder for stealing a piece of jewelry from his dresser. Not that he had wanted to, but in that moment he didn't think he had any other choice. His brother was addicted to crack and had stolen Sean's ring so he could pawn it for drug money. Understandably, it's a scary situation for any kid in middle school. Many years later, Sean Carter, then going by Jay-Z, said this: "My brother was dealing with a lot of demons. He was doing a lot of drugs. He was taking stuff from the family, and I was the youngest, but I felt like I needed to protect everybody else." He later explored this moment in the lyrics of a song he would write for his album In My Lifetime Volume 1, his second studio record, which would go on to be certified platinum not long after its release. He apologizes to a number of people in his life, including his brother he shot, saying the lyrics,
"Try to justify this in my young mind, but the adrenaline and my ego hurt combined drove me berserk. So the devil in your eyes, high off more than weed. Confused, I just closed my young eyes and squeezed. What a sound, open my eyes just in time to see you stumbling to the ground." Ultimately, his brother wasn't angry. They even reunited the next day in the hospital, but it's a sign of a bad situation that happened to begin with. Not only did he have access to guns at the age of 12, but he knew how to use them, and he was even in a situation where he ended up using it against his own family. The Marcy projects that Jay-Z grew up in were known in the 1980s as one of the most dangerous and drug-ridden places in America, at a time when New York as a whole was suffering badly from violence, the crack epidemic, and widespread poverty. People who could leave got out as quickly as they could, and they didn't look back, spreading to surrounding cities and states, and the people who couldn't suffered the consequences. Brooklyn at the time was a landscape full of abandoned buildings, empty lots, and industrial waste, smog, and darkness. A photographic survey from the early 80s paints a dismal, depressing picture of Jay-Z's surroundings as a kid. The house that he and his family lived in until he was 5 years old sat on a block surrounded by empty lots dotted with giant piles of garbage and row homes with the windows busted out and the doors boarded up. New York City wasn't the outrageously expensive home to rich college kids, finance guys, and billionaires that it is now. In fact, when Jay-Z was in middle school, over 2,000 people were murdered every year in New York, about 1,000% more than 2023. New York at the time was dirty, dark, and falling apart. People who lived in the city back then later talked about this era in New York's history by saying things like, "The crumbling sadness was so vast
fast that it seemed the city would never turn around. And this wasn't just affecting the world around Jay-Z. It was a big factor in his life at home as well. The story of him shooting his brother was one of many moments in his early life that set him on the path to become a product of his environment. His father had abandoned him and his 3 older siblings when Jay-Z was 11 years old, which Jay-Z would later describe as a traumatic moment in his life that changed him forever. He later said, "Kids look up to their pop like Superman. Superman just left the crib? That's traumatic. He was a good guy, but he didn't handle the situation well. He handled it so bad that you forget all the good he did. As you can see, I'm a grown man, but it's still here with me. I'd say I changed a lot. I became more guarded." And
see, he said, I changed a lot. I became more guarded. I never wanted to be too attached to anything and get it taken away again.
Never wanted to be too attached to anything and get it taken away again. I never wanted to be too happy or mad. And it affected my relationships with women too. But later on, Jay-Z realized that in the type of environment they lived in, even his own father wasn't entirely at fault for the way his life went and the things that happened to him. He later said, "When I was 9 years old, my dad's brother got stabbed, and my dad went looking for the guy who did it. People would call in the middle of the night and tell him, so-and-so is out there. So my dad would get up and go outside to look for the guy. After a while, my mom was like, hey, you know, this is your family now, you can't do that. But this was my dad's baby brother. And so my dad was in so much pain that he started using drugs and became a different person. I understand that the trauma of the event, coupled with the drugs, caused him to lose his soul." The story goes that after his father had left, Jay-Z's mother tried as hard as she could to keep him out of trouble, buying him speakers and boomboxes to listen to his favorite music whenever he wanted, feeling like that was the best way to keep him out of trouble and under her supervision. Knowing what usually happened to kids who went outside without adults around in New York, she wanted to keep him in the house. In school, he was a talented student who scored very high on standardized tests, attending the same school in Brooklyn as Busta Rhymes and Biggie Smalls. But at the same time, the pull of the world outside took hold and started to push him in a dark direction. He later said, "I saw a guy get shot when I was 9 years old, and he wasn't even a bad guy. His name was Benny. He was the guy who took us to play baseball. We always believed he could have made it to the major leagues. He was that good. But some guy was chasing him, and then I heard a shot and saw him on the floor." With his mother trying to raise 4 kids on the salary of a bank secretary, it became a struggle to look after and pay attention to all of her children. And Jay-Z later talked about how without a father in his life, the only role models left to look up to were older guys in his neighborhood who made their money selling crack. And at that point, the pull of the streets began to take hold. Many years later, he would be quoted as saying that there was no other way. Surrounded by poverty, addiction, and homelessness in his community, with a broken family and no good future prospects to look forward to, Jay-Z started selling crack when he was 13 years old.
I'm gonna tell you something, man. When your family, when you got family in and out your life, man, and you know, mama trying to raise 4 kids, man, don't think that this man gonna have a good, decent life, man. You know what I mean? It's sad because you think that these people that y'all look up to, allies, is good people, man. But there's a lot of things that's in that dark, man. And you know what I mean? I never knew after all this time growing up being a Jay-Z fan, man, listening to his Rockefeller music and all that, right? I never knew in this time, in this day and age, that Jay-Z would have some legal issues, man. You know, I told you guys in my last video, man, how the Fed's playing, you know what I mean, his chess, you know what I mean, and they putting the king pieces out because he have a history with, you know what I mean, young women, underage women, man, and it's catching up, man. And now, you know, I want to say this, fam, even though he's involved, man, he's involved in this 13-year-old, man, and that driver was killed or dead, it's not going to look good, you know what I mean, because now Tony Buzzy is buying all this time, court is buying all this time, because they, you know, when court buy all this time, they bring and subpoenas, you know what I mean, witnesses. That's what they do. They subpoena witnesses. And I'm quite sure someone saw something. And I'm quite sure someone's going to come forward.
And dropped out of school by the time he was 16. But the full extent to which he dealt drugs, who he sold them to, and the beliefs he took away from that experience have remained a strange and confusing chapter in Jay-Z's life ever since, defining his character years before he was ever a best-selling rapper, business executive, or record label president. Jay-Z wouldn't officially become Jay-Z until he was 26 years old. Until that point, Sean Carter spent over a decade, if his stories can be believed, moving crack in large quantities across state lines, getting caught in shootouts, losing friends, and risking his life on a daily basis as he moved product all over the East Coast from New York to Virginia, Maryland, and beyond. This time in his life served as the basis of his creative career in musical storytelling later on. But still to this day, this chapter of Jay-Z's life presents a strange, confusing dynamic when it comes to the reality of Sean Carter versus the character he plays in public. Later on, talking about how and why he got into drug dealing, he said this: "No one aspires to be a drug dealer. You aspire to the lifestyle you see around you. You see the green BMW, the prettiest car you've ever seen. You see the trappings of drug dealing, and it draws you in." But the actual statistics of the early days of the crack epidemic, right when Jay-Z got involved, are disturbing and sad. Between 1984 and 1989, the homicide rate for black males aged 14 to 24 increased by double. During this period, the black community also experienced a 20 to 100% increase in fetal death rates, low birth weight babies, weapons arrests, and the number of children in foster care. Crack cocaine use and distribution became popular in cities that were in a state of social and economic chaos, such as New York, Los Angeles, and Atlanta, and particularly in their low-income inner neighborhoods with high African-American concentrations. As a result of the low skill levels and minimal initial resource required to sell crack, systemic violence flourished as a growing army of young, enthusiastic crack sellers attempt to defend their economic investment. In addition, the number of Americans in prison massively spiked between 1980 and 2000. Basically, crack made life worse for everybody on all sides. Point being, Jay-Z was part of a very dark moment in modern history, and he was one of the very lucky few individuals who got to walk away from it and live a new life after. But Jay-Z has maintained for a long time that his experiences as a teenager shaped him, taught him integrity, and he even said, "I wouldn't want to grow up any other way." He often claimed in the past that dealing drugs gave him a code of honor and integrity that doesn't exist in the music industry, saying things like, "It's tough for people like us to get along with music executives. We're coming from a place where there's integrity, there's honor, there's unwritten rules. Meanwhile, in the music industry, kids inherit stuff from their parents and don't appreciate it. For me, I can think, I'm never going back to not being able to pay my light bill, my stomach growling, or eating cereal at night." And so the image Jay-Z created around his drug dealing has been complicated and oftentimes contradictory. The numbers don't lie. Crack dealers killed their communities, but Jay-Z painting it as honorable work that made him a stronger, more honest person is a controversial idea to say the least. He's even told stories about how he learned financial intelligence from dealing drugs, saying things like, "I learned about budgets and finances from selling crack." When asked if he felt guilty about contributing to a nationwide drug epidemic, he later said, "Not until later on did I realize the effects on my community. In the beginning, I was thinking about improving my situation, buying clothes and cars." Many people have pointed out the strange hypocrisy of Jay-Z's perspective on drug dealing over the years. Most recently, sports writer Jason Whitlock made a controversial series of posts satirically describing Jay-Z's discussions of his dealing in a clearly exaggerated way that still highlights just how strange Jay-Z's comments about drug money making him a better person really were. He tweeted things like, "When Jay-Z sold drugs, he checked IDs and made sure no kids were involved. He didn't sell to parents. He honored a code. He was the honorable drug dealer." He also said, "My understanding is Jay-Z only sold to users."
You guys are crushing it. See how 8 grams of healthy protein and Land of Frost premium meat gives you energy and keeps you full. Let's get those buns toasted, Brad. Cheese, 10 more, go.
I'm getting shredded. Make the smart choice. Land of Frost Premium Meat.
Meet Stello, the powerful glucose biosensor that reveals how food, exercise, and even sleep affect your glucose. Now, tracking your glucose is as easy as tracking the weather. Hollywood Squares premieres CBS Thursday and streaming on Paramount Plus. The Camping World Open House is coming to Southern California. Join us at the dealership January 17th to 19th to shop special open house pricing on California's best selection of new and used RVs. Learn more at campingworld.com/open house.
If you're thinking of selling your home soon, you don't want to miss out on this. Not only will I buy your house fast, I can also pay your next month's rent, mortgage, or cover your moving costs. I'll buy your home as is in any condition, no matter the price. You can leave anything behind and you don't have to clean up or fix anything. If you like what I'm talking about here, I want to give you a free offer for your home in just a few minutes. Scan the QR code you see on the screen beside me right now. Grab your smartphone, open the camera app, and point it at the QR code. A new window will open, and you can answer a few simple questions about your home and request your free offer. I'll make this process so easy for you. I'll buy your house as is, meaning there's no need to fix or clean anything, no fees, no realtor commissions, and you can leave anything behind. Make sure you scan the QR code beside me with the camera app on your smartphone right now and answer a few questions so I can give you an offer for your home today.
He would often clasp the hand of a buyer and say a little prayer after completing the deal. These comments were clearly sarcastic, with Jason Whitlock even saying it was a joke after, but it's still a real reminder of the complicated discussion around Jay-Z's life before music. Creating a narrative that selling drugs made you a better person when you were dealing in the middle of a nationwide epidemic that killed hundreds of thousands of people doesn't point to Jay-Z having the greatest self-awareness or morals, but still, that was just the start. And while Jay-Z's philosophies about crack dealing might be questionable, that's not the only reason his past has stayed under scrutiny, even to this day. Because
this is not good, you guys, because anytime you had to grow up, sell drugs, you guys, and now, you know, at these parties, you see the date rape drug, GHB, crack cocaine, so all this stuff at these parties, right? This is not looking good. They is building a case. Do y'all see it? Do y'all actually see that they are building a case against Jay-Z? Y'all don't see it. They are building a case against him, man. See, this is why I say you need your family, man. This is why you need your parents, man. Because if you don't have no parents growing up, you don't have no good parenting, man. This kind of stuff happens, man. Where you have to make these rational decisions, man. You have to make decisions for yourself, man. Y'all don't see how they building a case against Jay-Z?
many people still can't quite seem to agree on whether or not he ever sold drugs at all. Being a rapper, it's easy to create a character around yourself that may or may not be true at all. Maybe Jay-Z learned about the life of a drug dealer from people around him, but didn't really do it himself. Rick Ross, for example, in reality was a college-educated guy who spent years working as a correctional officer, but he made a huge career out of pretending to be a drug dealer in his music, even stealing his name from an actual real-life infamous drug dealer in LA who later sued him.
You know, it's obvious that Rick Ross wasn't no Rick Ross. He was a correction officer, man. You know what I mean? Y'all can't make this up, man. But look, man, a lot of times, man, when you ain't got no good parenting, man, a lot of times you got to make these kind of decisions in your life, man. You know what I mean? And later down the road, man, when you in a lot of trouble, man, they'll build a case on you, man. They'll build a case on you, fam. And the feds will build one real fast on you.
Jay-Z claims to have sold at over the years, though, is pretty insane. Being a drug dealer isn't just something Jay-Z discussed in interviews, it's a central part of his music.
That scene out of state where I drop my sling. I'm deep in the south, kicking up top game. Bouncing on the highway, switching 4 lanes. Screaming through the sunroof, money ain't a thing. Your words being confirmed, me and my fam wrote.
From the Mafia-inspired album covers and aesthetics, to the very first singles to his very first album, his music was always built on gritty, dark stories about him trafficking drugs up and down the East Coast and making huge piles of money while doing it. Being a drug-dealing gangster turned rapper is literally what his career was founded on. But a lot of people have accused Jay-Z of lying about his business over the years. Comedian Faison Love is only one person who went on record and said there's absolutely no way Jay-Z was dealing drugs at the scale he claims.
When Jay-Z creates this whole drug dealer, drug lord, I'm a drug dealer, I'm a drug lord, these kids, and then we gotta do it too, to be like Jay-Z. Not knowing that this is all made up shit.
Jay was involved in... Hold on.
Look, I'm gonna say it like this, fam. Jay-Z around drug dealers, man, but let's say when you around drug dealers, don't have to put you to be a drug dealer, but when you put yourself out there like that, saying you was a drug dealer, you put it in your song stuff, it's make you creating a bad image of yourself. That's all I'm gonna say. You creating a bad image. Later on, Fed's gonna look into this. All you doing is creating a bad image. That's all I'm saying, fam. Whether he was a drug dealer or not, but when you put yourself out there like that, you putting yourself to be something that you may not be, and it might catch up with him. It might eventually catch up with him.
Oh. Not only that, but Faison Love also had strong feelings about the effect Jay-Z's glorifying his past had on people as a result. Of course, that would only be even more sinister if a lot of the stories he tells aren't true at all. Glorifying a life of crime and danger, encouraging people to do the same to make it out of their own situations, only for your story to be untrue, that's dark. The thing is, though, the people who knew Jay-Z before the fame, before he dropped Reasonable Doubt, a lot of them tell a much different story than Faison Love. Memphis Bleek is another Brooklyn rapper who also grew up in the Marcy houses, and he knew Jay-Z from a young age, later telling this story from the mid-90s when Jay-Z was not yet famous.
So listen, right, I'm telling her I'm fucked up. I need $100. Nigga, like, listen. Like, go in my room, in my nightstand. In my top drawer is the hundreds. Yo, Bleak, I know how much money I got, so take 100. That's it. So I'm like, all right, cool, no fucking problem. Let me go upstairs in the room, go to the nightstand, take 100. I open the drawer.
She got millions.
A whole stack of hundreds, just the whole drawer full of hundreds. So I'm like, damn, Bleak, why the fuck you ask for 100? Like, what's wrong with you, my nigga? Like, so I'm like, all right, let me take $100 bill. So let me take 100. But then, I'm downstairs chilling with the shorty, son, in my mind, like, check the other drawers. So I go up there and check hundreds, 50, every drawer stacked to the top, hundreds and 50s. Then you get to the drawer that just had 20s. And it was like, Bleak again, why you ask for 100?
DeHaven is another person who's gone on record many times over the years to talk about Jay-Z's life in the streets, having first met Jay-Z when they were kids in Brooklyn and later living together in Trenton, New Jersey when they were young adults.
You know what I mean? Okay. So was he actually on the corner selling? Yeah, he get busy. Yeah, he got busy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm in New York, he gonna get busy. Nah, you know what I mean? And They took into him. He had a nice squad. He had his own little squad that got busy for him. So yeah, he knew how to be a boss.
Well, you and Jay have not spoken in over 20 years.
Right.
Jay walks in the room right now, sits down next to you. What would you tell him?
What would I tell him?
Yeah.
What took so long?
Whether or not Jay-Z being a fake or real drug dealer and glamorizing his fake or real crimes and the harm he did to other people hurting his community is up to interpretation. But in the end, the truth of his stories told by his former friends paints an even darker picture than the story otherwise would have if he had been a liar all along. Basically, he really did that shit. The only reason why this matters at all, though, is because Jay-Z didn't become a statistic. Eventually, he did make it out of the streets and become a best-selling rapper, a record executive, and so on. But that part of his life didn't begin until he was 26 years old. If you're interested in more of my creations, you need to check out Spirit World, my independently owned line of solid silver, hand-painted jewelry. Each piece tells a story and is designed to not just be fashionable and well-made, but most importantly, it carries a reminder of the journey of life and the importance of continuing on no matter what. It really does stand for something. I started this brand completely independently. I design, ship, and fulfill every order, and every penny from our sales goes into being able to make more videos like this. These videos are often not YouTube friendly, and a lot of what I make gets demonetized. However, this channel is the main source of income for my family, and hundreds of hours of work go into every video. So Spirit World is a huge deal for us and allows us to keep making videos that people care about. My current favorite piece that I never take off is The Darkest Night and the Brightest Day, a silver piece of the sun rising over a night full of silver stars. By making these, all I want to do is remind you that the only thing crazier than trying your hardest is never trying at all. It doesn't matter who you are, a rapper, a producer, a photographer, student, writer, anything. We all get a new chance to work hard and reach our goals every day. Of course, though, Spirit World has all kinds of pieces, including our new pair, Chaos and Harmony, which are the craziest designs I've done yet. Anyway, if you want to grab some really beautiful silver jewelry that's actually really well made and will last for as long as you do, you can go to spiritworld.store and grab a pendant and chain right now. Shipping is always free in the US, and you can use the code VOLKSGANG for a special discount just for watching Volksgeist. And once again, thank you very much for supporting what I do on this channel and helping make sure that the videos keep coming. Years after Jay-Z got famous, his cousin later said, every morning he would wake up and be in the mirror rhyming to himself to hear himself and check his flow. You know how some people get up and do calisthenics every morning? It was like that. But Jay-Z didn't get in front of a mic and put out a song till he was 26 years old. Pretty old for someone who would eventually become one of the biggest rappers alive. Mainly because, again, he was dealing drugs for 10 years before that. The story goes, though, that entire time he spent practicing, preparing, writing, and getting ready to be a rapper. Sitting on the train, driving from state to state, practicing. It was all he did.
So I had to start memorizing these things to take them home. You know, and it became an exercise for me. Every day I'm trying to memorize 8 bars, then 16 bars, and I'm memorizing the whole song. Then I start getting away from the house further and further. So I start memorizing longer and longer. You know, my journey back home was getting further and further. It took me from New York to train to Maryland to Virginia, DC. You know, it was getting further and further away from me.
Despite him getting pulled into the world of drug trafficking, music was always his true passion from the very beginning. Even as far back as the late 80s, when he was barely past his teenage years, he can be briefly heard on some recordings from Jazz O, an older rapper from Marcy Projects who got a record deal with EMI in the mid-80s and was also the same person who provided the gun that Jay shot his brother with at the age of 12. But his experiences weren't just limited to people he knew in the Marcy Project. He also made a name for himself in New York when he ended up in a few rap battles with LL Cool J in 1992, years before he released any of his own music. But like he said later, being a professional rapper wasn't really a viable life option. It wasn't at all like today when any young kid can find a gimmick, put themselves all over social media, and end up with a small fortune and 1 million followers within a year or two. It wasn't even an issue of gatekeepers controlling who succeeded and who didn't. When Jay-Z was in his early to mid-20s, hip-hop as a business wasn't yet big enough for him to count on it as a viable life option, with a lack of simple ways to distribute your work and get it heard by people, at least not compared to the type of money he was making already. He later said this, I remember the first time I saw Sugar Hill Gang on TV. I was like, what's going on? How did these guys get on TV? Still though, he would later say that music was calling his name, and he knew at the time that he couldn't be in the streets forever and get out with his life, and that trying to make it in music was a better chance than to keep playing with his life in a way that ends well for almost nobody. And so the story goes that eventually Jay-Z found himself in a position where he had to walk away from his lifestyle and start from the very bottom to even have a shot at being able to do what he loved. He's always said that he took the chance to turn his life around, to grow as a person, and to achieve something real. But it was a slow start. After his first single, In My Lifetime, was passed on by a number of radio stations who didn't like his style, and a variety of major labels had no particular interest in what he was making, by 1994, Jay-Z took matters into his own hands and started selling records out of the trunk of his car around Brooklyn. He did sign with an indie label, Payday Records, who saw potential in the song In My Lifetime, but they ended up being a bad fit and weren't.
Bottom line is, moms love that Lando Frost premium sliced meats have no byproducts.
Bologna! Let's join the call. Hey, Bologna here.
I thought this was a no byproducts call.
Lando Frost Premium, a slice above.
I'm no author, but I sell thousands of books on Amazon every single month. And the crazy thing is, I didn't write a word of them myself. It's a new way to earn income on Amazon. I think it's better than selling products because you don't need to ship products, you don't need to deal with factories and overseas suppliers or paying to store inventory. There's already over 1,000 people making $100,000 a year or more by selling ebooks on the Amazon platform. It's thanks to a new online strategy that I discovered on Amazon. What I do is sell ebooks on the Amazon Kindle platform. It means I don't need to ship products around the world. I also don't even need to write these books myself. I pay for a ghostwriter to write the books, and then Amazon sends me a paycheck every single month. I live here in beautiful New Zealand. I get lots of time with my young family, and I only work about 4 hours a week in the business. In fact, I can produce a whole ebook in about 4 hours of my time, and I outsource the writing so I don't have to write a word of those books myself.
If you want to learn how to sell ebooks as well, what you can do is join my free training. I'll take you through the only 3 things you need to be good at to do this well. Firstly, how to choose a good book topic. Secondly, how to outsource the writing of that book so it's a really popular book, well written, going to get great reviews. And thirdly, how to upload it and get it selling on the Amazon Kindle platform. So those are the things we'll cover in the free training. I'll share with you my exact system and how I do this. You don't need any skills or background. You're not going to be writing these books yourself. And if you register, you'll see exactly what it takes to be a successful ebook seller. I love this strategy. I like that it's so simple. It's very process-based. So every single book I create following the exact same steps every single time. So that makes it really easy. It makes it really easy for me to teach you my system as well. And every step is very simple and easy to learn. So I think it's very accessible and easy for anyone to learn how to do this who wants to start a new online income stream. The other nice thing is not only are the books easy to produce, you don't need to write them yourself. The fact is that the competition on Amazon for ebooks is so much lower than anything else I've ever seen anywhere online. So I'm really, really pleased that big crowds are following all the other strategies and there's hardly anybody doing this. So it's been a real winner. I've been doing it for over 5 years and I'd love to share with you my entire system for creating and selling profitable ebooks. But if you don't register for the workshop, you won't learn this system. So click on the link, make sure you don't miss out. It will fill up. So grab your spot now. You'll see the link somewhere on the screen. Click on that, find a time that suits you, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Able to help push his career forward. In the end, they let him go with a small lump sum payment as a contract payout. That moment was huge for Jay-Z, and in a way, it made the rest of his career possible. Teaming up with 2 close friends, Biggs Burke and Dame Dash, they took the money from the Payday Records contract and founded an independent record label with a tiny office in one of the rougher parts of Manhattan at the time. Within a few years, Jay-Z's independent record label Rockefeller that he founded with 2 friends just so they could get his debut album out massively skyrocketed in size and scope. It only took 3 years before Rockefeller entered into a 50-50 partnership with Def Jam, and Jay-Z's career got huge. But once he was really in the music industry and started pursuing bigger and bigger goals, it seems like the integrity and the morals he claimed to have gotten from slinging crack went away, and a greed for money, power, and influence took its place. Jay-Z's debut album, Reasonable Doubt, was moderately successful, peaking at 23 on the Billboard 200. It wasn't a huge hit right out of the gate, but reviews were great, and people who were in the know knew it could be an instant classic. An East Coast hip-hop record, Reasonable Doubt was noted for having mafioso rap themes with lyrics characterized by Stylist magazine as gritty realism. Writer Dream Hampton believed that although rappers had alluded to hustling before, Jay-Z talks about what it can do to a person's inner peace and what it can do to their mind. Jay-Z later said, "The studio was like a psychiatrist's couch for me while recording Reasonable Doubt." Steve Huey described him as a street hustler from the projects who rapped about what he knew, detailing his experiences with disarming honesty. And as time went on, Reasonable Doubt started to be recognized as one of the greatest rap albums ever made, with quotes like this describing its massive influence. Since its initial reception, Reasonable Doubt has received further acclaim from music critics and writers. According to Pitchfork's Ryan Schreiber, it has often been considered one of hip-hop's best albums, while Birchmeyer said it was viewed like Nas's Illmatic as a classic hip-hop album by a younger rapper about their street and criminal experiences. Reasonable Doubt transfigured gangster rap into mafioso rap, popularizing the subgenre and the imagery of high-class, expensive lifestyles and tastes in hip-hop, drinking Cristal, driving Lexus automobiles, and living out the plots of films like Scarface or Carlito's Way. In the opinion of Miles Marshall Lewis, Reasonable Doubt was a work that shocked the world. Basically, Jay-Z's early work was really, really good. From the writing to the production to the themes of his stories, he was able to tell tales that appealed to a massive audience and displayed a crazy talent for lyricism at the same time. People really liked Jay-Z. Even in the earliest days of his career, he was seen as a top talent who made great music.
Bone crushers, I keep her close, I got the skill for this. On my back, the flyers closed, looking ill as shit. Transactions illegitimate, cause life is still a bitch. And then you die, but for now, life, close your eyes and feel his dick.
Understandably, Jay-Z's rise to fame after he finally got launched after years of struggle was pretty quick. After Reasonable Doubt, which peaked at number 23 on the Billboard 200, he followed up with In My Lifetime, which peaked at number 3. After that, Hard Knock Life peaked at number 1, and his records never fell again, following that up with 15 number 1 albums in a row. With over a dozen albums, Jay-Z ran the game for years. Multiple retirements, hiatuses, and comebacks, he stayed on top for a long time, releasing arguably 5 classic albums, selling over 140 million records, winning 24 Grammy Awards, the most of any rapper ever, 444 and being the first hip-hop artist to be inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, he did a massive amount of work to bring hip-hop to even bigger audiences than ever before, and he received some great recognition for doing so. He wasn't an R. Kelly or a P. Diddy. People legitimately love Jay-Z's music. Plus, his ability to cross hip-hop with pop earned him some pretty huge chart positions as well. Umbrella with Rihanna, Empire State of Mind, Numb with Linkin Park, Crazy in Love, Neighbors in Paris. Jay-Z wasn't just making classic albums, he dominated the radio for over a decade, having the song of the summer almost every summer for almost 10 years. From Reasonable Doubt in 1996 to 444 in 2017, a lot of people consider Jay-Z one of the greatest active rappers. For a lot of people, he still is one of the best. And the story of Jay-Z as an artist was the ultimate come-up. He represented opportunity, hard work, the American dream. People literally wrote books about how Jay-Z's life and music was the personification of struggle and glory in the American dream. Going from dealing crack in one of the worst neighborhoods in America at the age of 13 to 13 #1 albums, his life was the rags to riches story that a lot of people's motivations and dreams are built on. The persona of a hustler, someone trying to beat the odds and make a name for himself in a cold, unforgiving world, he became an icon that millions of people believed in and took legitimate meaning from. The London Financial Times wrote this in 2021. Jay-Z's majesty derives not from what he has made for himself, famous hip-hop artist Jay-Z, but from what he has provided for others as his lesser-known self, Sean Carter. Throughout his career, he's defined and redefined what it means to hustle. From selling Class A drugs on the streets of Brooklyn, to musical albums via his independently founded record label, to staples of rap culture like champagne and streetwear, Jay-Z has harnessed his influence and extends it back to the locals of his own stomping grounds, the Marcy housing projects, as well as to Black America and the wider world. Reaching an unmatched balance between quality and popularity, he made a discography that was ridiculously popular.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. You know, you don't want to put yourself out being something that you're not. When this might come back and hunt Jay-Z, you know, and Tony Buzzy, man, is watching a lot of, you know what I mean, a lot of YouTubers right now, you know, and for Jay-Z to say that he sold drugs for 10 years, it's not looking good, man, because they can use that against him. You know, he's playing a dangerous game, rolling his dice. I just want to say that, you guys, anytime you put yourself out saying that you was a drug dealer, and you got to remember that 13-year-old girl was drugged. She was feeling oozy. This might come back and bite him in the ass, man. You know, you don't want to, you know what I mean? When you put a bad reputation on yourself like that, it'll always come back to hunt you, man. That's all I want to say, fam. It's not going to look good, fam.
And lyrically good, something that only a few rappers were ever able to do at the level he did. And he was so loved for it that he has a permanent spot in people's minds as one of the best hip-hop artists ever. This is a quote from an article where Billboard named him the greatest rapper of all time. Billboard's reason for placing Jay-Z at the top came down to his overall career success. Maybe there are other rappers who could claim to match Jay-Z, but there are simply none who can match his entire career. His longevity, the breadth of his accomplishments, and what he means for hip-hop from a musical, cultural, financial standpoint for the last 3 decades. That's what makes it so much stranger that the real Jay-Z is someone with so many skeletons in his closet, so many lies and strange actions that make him look more like a corrupt, dark character than someone who can motivate millions to do better. There are a lot of people in the entertainment industry who have secrets come out about them, but it turns out that their true character was already in plain view for a long time. P. Diddy and R. Kelly are 2 amazing examples of musicians who turned out were not good people at all. In fact, they were flat out evil. But a lot of people knew that already for years. Jay-Z, though, might be the only artist who was most idolized and loved for years, only for his actions to tell a much different story than the PR machine around him. Still, though, a lot of what he did couldn't be hidden forever, and as it came out, it started to cloud people's ideas of him beyond repair. In 2017, when he dropped 444 at the age of 50, it was instantly recognized as one of his best albums, one of the best albums of that year overall. Full of heavy, hard-hitting reflections on his flaws, his family, and his mistakes, it went deeper than anyone thought he would after 21 years of rapping. It had some of his best rhymes, some of his best wordplay, and his greatest storytelling, solidifying him as one of the greatest to ever do it. But still, it revealed and brought to light a lot of things that make people see him differently to this day. One of the standout tracks from 444 was the title track, a 4-minute, 44-second song full of introspection and reflections that immediately became one of the most hyped.
I see the innocence, leave your eyes, I still mourn this death. I apologize for all the stillborns, cause I wasn't present, your body wouldn't accept it. I apologize to all the women whom I toyed with your emotions.
The big story around this project had to do with Beyonce, because not only did Jay-Z become one of the biggest rappers in the game, but he also married the world's biggest pop star in 2008 after dating for more than 7 years. Their collaborations, brands, appearances, and their cult fan base over the years had made them one of the biggest celebrity couples of all time. But in this context, 444 is an apology letter to his wife of 16 years, focusing on the consequences and the guilt of the immaturity and the infidelity he carried out in their relationship over the years, and the different ways that it hurt his wife. It was widely considered one of the highest moments of his career, with the lyrics and storytelling being poignant and hard-hitting. Beyonce also made her own album about this time in her life. Lemonade dived deep into the stress and trauma from her husband's infidelity, with large parts of the record being centered around her struggles with feeling inadequate, insecure, and mistreated in her marriage.
Something don't feel right, because it ain't right, especially coming up after midnight. I smell your secrets, and I'm not too perfect to ever feel this worthless. How did it come down to this? Falling through your car.
Ultimately, though, Jay-Z and Beyonce didn't divorce. Instead, they made a joint album and did a world tour right after all of this news came out, going to show just how linked and mutually beneficial their careers had become. At the same time, though, the allegedly suspicious origins of their relationship have been a subject of interest for a long time. Many people have observed strange inconsistencies in their stories and an odd relationship dynamic that points to a darker reality than meets the eye on red carpets and in music videos. The story has always been that they met when she was 18 and he was 30, and that they then spent a few years as friends before officially dating when she was 20 and he was 32, or at least that was the narrative. Instead, though, it looks a lot more like Jay-Z actually met Beyonce for the first time when she was 16 and he was 28, with photos of them together when Beyonce was a minor resurfacing over the years. Still, though,
you see that? Beyonce was 16, he was 28. You know, all this is just stacking up, man. I told you guys already how the feds will, you know what I mean, play this chess and bring out the king pieces. You know, they will bring more and more of this up on Jay-Z. It's not going to look good, man. It's not going to look good, man. It's not going to look good, man. Jay-Z is bringing a bad reputation of himself, man. You know, I won't try, when you grow up to be a rapper, try not to say that you was a drug dealer, because all that's going to catch up in you. All that's going to catch up on you. For real, fam. All that's going to catch up on you. Because the feds is looking now into this case, man. And, you know, Buzzy, you got Buzzy. He's going to watch a lot of these videos, y'all. And I won't be surprised that they will bring up his, you know what I mean, his drug history, man. You know what I mean? There's a woman drug, man. You know what I mean? A 13-year-old, you know what I mean, girl drug. And she was feeling oozy, man. It's not looking good, fam. It's not looking good at all, fam. Because they will build this case up. Slowly for surely, they will build this case up, fam.
There are countless more questions around Jay-Z's motivations and his influence on Beyonce's early life. A 30-year-old man dating an 18-year-old girl is never ever normal, especially if they met when the girl was underage. It doesn't matter if they're both famous, it doesn't matter if he waited until she was 20, grooming is bad. A 30-year-old man can exert vastly more influence over a teenager than a teenager even understands. With different levels of emotional development and life experience, that's not good for a kid. If you don't understand what I'm saying, ask yourself, would I catch feelings for a 16-year-old? If the answer isn't clear to you immediately, just click off the video. The fact that Jay-Z met a 16-year-old Beyonce, decided he wanted to go after her, waited a couple of years, and then felt it was totally normal to be dating her, it betrays something really strange about who he is on the inside. A lot of the time when you think about a 30-year-old guy dating an 18-year-old, the thought that comes to mind is something trashy or someone low class or creepy, but ultimately it's not about the person that's doing it. Jay-Z was rich and famous, and it's still wrong. 30-year-old man has no real reason to date a teenager. together. When you have that much more knowledge and experience about adulthood, relationships, and life, it's manipulative and inappropriate to go after someone who doesn't have that. I'm 25 years old. The last time I would have looked at a 16-year-old in a romantic context was when I was 17. The last time I would have dated an 18-year-old was when I was 20 at the most. What kind of person is 30 years old and says, yeah, I want that 18-year-old? Are you serious? And Jay-Z has even rapped about this proudly on songs over the years.
Got a young girl, got a young girl. My girl's still not quite 21, so I strung such a vibrant thing. I introduced myself, hi Miss Thing. You're 19? No, you're lightning in the bottle. I hear you bring tomorrow. The scene that follows. Screams of horror, classic Stephen King novel. Mama don't think you should date someone so advanced in romance. You should just wait.
One of Jay-Z's longtime friends also later said that Jay-Z moved in on her specifically after she broke up with her teenage boyfriend when she was done with high school.
This is how Jay-Z was able to move in, because she was heartbroken. And Jay came in like the snake. Y'all done seen all the activities of this dude being a snake, and then still don't want to believe he's a snake.
Even beyond conspiracies or gossip posts, though, Jay-Z and Beyonce's relationship has drawn intense scrutiny over the years, revealing troubling patterns in his character and behavior. Between his admitted infidelity, the known multiple stress-induced miscarriages that Beyonce suffered early in their marriage, the significant age gap when they met, public incidents like the elevator altercation with Beyonce's sister, many view Jay-Z not as a loving husband, but as someone who pursued a very young, impressionable singer and established a controlling, potentially abusive dynamic that persists to this day. There are countless stories that support that claim. In 2005, when Beyonce featured Bun B in her song Check on It, Jay-Z, having no involvement with the production, stepped in and forbid any men from being on the set while Beyonce was shooting the music video, including Bun B himself, even though he was married at the time. Later on, he also stopped Jamaican rapper Sean Paul from performing his song with Beyonce, even going backstage to cut his mic during a performance at an award show. The entire history and dynamics of Jay-Z and Beyonce's marriage could be a 2-hour documentary on its own, but all in all, it's yet another thing he's done in his career that points to him being a strange, predatory person instead of an inspiring figure. Ultimately, it's pretty clear that Jay-Z took advantage by going after a 16-year-old when he was 28 and has had a ton of control.
It shows you how, Jay-Z is a predator, man. It's not looking good, fam. It shows you, and I know Tony Buzzy is happy, man. He's somewhere smiling, man, because he's gonna slam this case, man. It's not looking good, fam. It shows a history of Jay-Z being with these underage girls, man. It's not good, fam. He was 30 years old while Beyonce, was 18. Just think about it. Jay-Z was 28 while she was 16, man. Just look at Aaliyah. Look at Rihanna. Look at Foxy. It's not looking good, fam. It's not looking good at all, fam. I'm sorry, fam. This is not looking good for Jay-Z right now.
Control over her throughout most of her career, and that should be critiqued in a societal context, even though it's far too late to do anything about it on a personal level. Still, though, it's far from the only example of what I'm talking about.
If it ain't a teen in there, he don't get his attention. Rihanna was a teen, Rosario Dawson, teen, Aaliyah, teen, or a man who was 30, bunch of teens in there. I'm just saying, Foxy Brown, super teen. I can't name you an adult relationship Jay was in.
It also points to a broader pattern in the type of woman Jay-Z was going after back in his early 30s, because Beyonce isn't the only woman around the age of 18 that Jay-Z was linked to in those days. He was first seen with actress Rosario Dawson in 1997 when she was 18 and he was 28, and they dated for about a year. Somehow, though, what he did with Beyonce was almost nothing in comparison to his relationship with Foxy Brown, a rapper from Brooklyn who first started getting a ton of attention in the mid-90s for singing and rapping provocatively at the age of 15 or 16, and a lot of her early hits were collabs with Jay-Z, who at the time was in his late 20s. On a song recorded in 1995 when she was 16 years old, she raps, "My sex drive lasts all night like a truck driver, and that's the only line I can even say out loud on YouTube without the video getting flagged." Around this time, Jay-Z was at least 27 or 28 years old, but he was doing duets with her where they were talking about having sex, dating, being in a relationship in very explicit terms. And he has songs with Foxy Brown all over his early albums, from Reasonable Doubt to In My Lifetime and more. That isn't all though. Over the years, various people have commented on the idea that there was something personal going on between Jay-Z and Foxy Brown while she was still underage. But even if Jay-Z's relationship with Foxy Brown was strictly business, that on its own is creepy enough. Jay-Z being close to 30 years old and doing songs with a 16 or 17-year-old girl saying the things that they were saying, it takes other level of personal and moral corruption and greed to go through with that as if it's completely normal just to make a hit song. Why would you ever want to do that?
I was like, my understanding, Foxy got signed at like 15, 16 years old, and the first time I had heard of her was on the Ain't No Nigga record and Outside Looking, and that's when I had Dame in front of me. I was like, how old was she when y'all was in the studio? Like, was anything going on? And
look, y'all, all Tony Buzzy got to do is just bring up this history of Jay-Z with these underage girls, man. From Foxy, Leah, from Rihanna and Beyonce. The list goes on. See, what I want to say is the judge is not going to have no mercy. These people is not going to have mercy. These people, see, one thing about the judge don't know you. And see, if Tony Buzzy play his card right, Jay-Z can be in a world trouble, man. It's not looking good, fam. It's not looking good, fam. And then him coming out the room with these girls, and you had Diddy was right in the hallway, and when Jay-Z opened the door, he says, "Ooh, you put that thing on him." That's not looking good, fam. All that raised suspicion, fam. It's not looking good, fam, for Jay-Z, fam.
He would have just said no. I think he was like, "Oh, I see what you're doing. Oh, you funny." Like he was playing it up. But I'm just like, the reason why ain't nobody speaking up, because everybody been condoning this bullshit in hip hop and film and television and sports. There's young teenage girls around grown ass fucking men all the time.
Ultimately, though, Foxy Brown's story in the industry had a pretty tragic end. Even if it's not officially confirmed that she had anything to do with Jay-Z on an inappropriate level, the industry clearly took a toll on her life. As she got older, she began to struggle with mental health and legal issues, with her career eventually hitting a wall after her third album in 2001. Her fourth album was canceled when its executive producer, P. Diddy, wouldn't agree on what to do with promotion and production for the project. A few years later, she was sentenced to a year in prison, some of which was spent in solitary confinement, among other legal issues that followed her for a long time. In the mid-2000s, she also went deaf, leaving her unable to record or perform, and after that, her career was never the same again, with very few public appearances in the last 20 years. Whether or not her disappearance from the public eye or legal issues were triggered or made worse by stress and trauma from what she experienced as a kid in entertainment, that's uncertain. But it would certainly make sense as a reflection of just how destabilizing the entertainment industry can be for teenagers who get thrown into the limelight at a young age and influenced by older people around them. And for Foxy Brown, Jay-Z was at the center of that. She has claimed at various times over the years that she either did or didn't have sexual contact with Jay-Z, never saying for sure one way or the other, but in the end, her tragic story is another reminder of the way that the music industry and the people in it exploit young stars. But somehow, this still isn't the only story like that from Jay-Z's past. Aaliyah was a singer from Detroit, often credited as helping redefine contemporary R&B in the 90s, despite only releasing 3 albums before her tragic and untimely death in a plane crash in 2001. After being signed to a major label in 1992, her debut record would later go on to be certified 3 times platinum, with her being called the Princess of R&B and a revolutionary artist. She first got connected to the music industry at a young age thanks to an uncle who was an entertainment lawyer and immediately recognized her talent, introducing her to the person who would be the lead songwriter and executive producer of her debut album, R. Kelly, who at the time was becoming one of the most popular R&B singers in the US. The story goes that it took 8 or 9 months of constant work to make Aaliyah's debut, and during that time they got closer and closer, taking breaks from recording to watch movies and get dinner, and there were even rumors that they were falling in love, with Aaliyah being spotted staying at R. Kelly's house at various times. And then on August 31st, 1994, just a few months after her debut was released, Aaliyah and R. Kelly were secretly married at a hotel in Chicago. But on the day of their wedding, Aaliyah was 15 years old and R. Kelly was 27. Years later, Aaliyah's tour manager revealed that he helped forge documents to make it seem like she was 18, so she could get married. Being highly illegal, the marriage was quickly annulled after Aaliyah's family found out, although many people close to her later said that she was never quite the same after her relationship with R. Kelly. Her boyfriend at the time of her death often said that she refused to discuss her relationship with Kelly and will only say that he was a bad man, explaining that he found it emotionally impossible to watch any interviews with R. Kelly's other victims because of how much it reminded him of Aaliyah's own behaviors. In the years after her brief marriage, she was often villainized in the music industry and even found it difficult to find producers to work with for her later projects. Her manager said later that P. Diddy was the only producer who would work with her after the news about her underage marriage came out. And although they were never officially in a relationship in the public eye, she went on to be seen with Jay-Z in various public settings years later. At the same time, though, she was in an official relationship with Damon Dash, Jay-Z's longtime manager and co-founder of Rockefeller Records. She was still with Dash when she passed away, and the story goes that they were planning to get married at the time. Dash later said, 20 years after her death, "There hasn't been one day since she's passed that I haven't either heard her name, heard her music, or seen a picture of her. Every single day she's present in my life." The strange thing was, though, not long after she passed in 2001, Jay-Z embarked on a world tour and released 2 albums with R. Kelly, and according to Dame Dash, that was the beginning of the end for Rockefeller Records as a whole. This is a quote from an article of an interview with Dame Dash. Dash and Aaliyah met in 2000 and continued to date until the singer's tragic death in 2001. But just a few months after Aaliyah died, R. Kelly and Jay-Z released The Best of Both Worlds, a collaborative album that Dame Dash strongly opposed. "If you remember The Best of Both Worlds, you don't see my name on that. I never wanted any part of that," the music mogul explained. Dame Dash said Jay-Z knew about R. Kelly's alleged sexual abuse of young girls, including Aaliyah, but that didn't stop his Rockefeller co-founder from teaming up with the singer. Dash claims he refused to be credited on the album and that he donated his profits to a charity that Aaliyah supported. He said, "I know morally we weren't the same," referring to Jay-Z. "So to me, Rockefeller was over. I couldn't fuck with it. It was something to..."
You see that? Jay-Z knew about R. Kelly and Aaliyah involvement, man. You would think that he won't even scoop that way, man. This is why probably Damon Dash probably dipped from Jay-Z, man. It's sad, man. It says support. He says, "I know morally we weren't the same," referring to Jay-Z. "So to me, Rockefeller was over. I couldn't fuck with it. Was something to me that
Me that I don't want to say was unforgivable, but I couldn't understand it. Whether or not Jay-Z went out and worked with R. Kelly out of bitterness that Aaliyah chose someone else over him, or if he just didn't care at all, is a question that might never get answered. In the end, though, knowing that he knew what R. Kelly did, both options paint Jay-Z as an uncaring, even sociopathic person who had no problem choosing.
You see, a sociopathic. He didn't even care how much R. Kelly was talking to Aaliyah. That shows you how he was a sociopathic. Sad, fam. You can't make this up, fam. You can't make this up. The feds is zeroing in, man. And Tony Buzzy, if he play his cards right, this will be a win for Tony Buzzy. Guarantee you. This is why Jay-Z attorney don't even want to take the case no more, man. This is why he don't want to take this case no more. This is why, man. He had enough, man. Because you see it right here, man. This shows Jay-Z being a sociopathic, man.
Profit over doing the right thing. And not long after the release of Jay-Z's 2 joint albums with R. Kelly, Rockefeller essentially split. There were a variety of factors at play, from strained relationships with clients to disagreements between executives, but Dame Dash still maintains to this day that Jay-Z's decision to collaborate with R. Kelly shattered any trust he had in him as a friend or colleague. From rollingout.com, Dash recalls the moment that he confronted Jay-Z about working with R. Kelly, describing a heated exchange that ultimately spelled the end of their empire. I was like, yo, how are you going to do a project with a guy that raped my girl? This raw conversation marked what he calls the nail in the coffin for their partnership. Not long after that incident, all shares of Rockefeller were sold to Def Jam in 2004 for $10 million. At that point, Jay-Z was named the president of Def Jam, and that would somehow turn out to be even more controversial and questionable than what he had done already. Jay-Z spent 3 years as the president of Def Jam, not in an honorary or symbolic position, but actually working in the company. He even announced that he was retiring from music completely to focus on his new role, releasing the Black Album, which many people called one of his best records, as his final project. And Def Jam was doing well when Jay-Z got there. They had artists like Kanye West, DMX, Jeezy, Joe Budden, Ghostface Killah, and more on their roster already. And Jay-Z made a number of ambitious moves while he was with the company, one of the most notable being signing Rihanna in 2005. She quickly became one of the biggest pop stars in the world, releasing 14 #1 songs and becoming one of the highest selling artists of all time when she was still in her early 20s. But how Jay-Z actually signed her in the first place was a strange situation on its own. Rihanna had originally been scouted by a producer visiting her hometown in Barbados and even left her home country to stay with the family of the person who noticed her talent so she could get developed, all at the age of just 16 years old. Within a year, she ended up in front of Jay-Z, and the story goes that he believed in her talent so much that he kept her in his office until 3 a.m., telling her that she could either sign a deal with Def Jam or leave his office through the window. And at the time, the label's office was on the 28th floor. And threatening to throw a 16-year-old girl out of a window if she didn't sign a contract with him was only one example of Jay-Z wielding his record exec power in a way that many people found questionable. Even back when he first took the job, people were writing posts about how Jay-Z's position was nothing but bad news for the company. How does being a rapper qualify someone to run a rap label? It doesn't, and the Jay-Z situation at Def Jam illustrates exactly why rappers should rap and people who know how to run labels should run labels. Let's take a look at a few situations that Jay has messed up horribly as a businessman in just the past 6 months. Basically, people's issues with Jay-Z running a big label came down to him being biased, having his own career and reputation that he was always going to prioritize no matter what, while also having a ton of control over other people's careers. And he stepped on more than a few toes while he was president at the label. Rappers, especially Jay-Z, are fantastic at self-promotion. He didn't get put on by being humble and staying out of the limelight. But as the president of a label, one has to know how to get others into the limelight, and it seems that Jay-Z is completely unwilling to let anyone shine except for himself. Let's go back to this past summer. Jay-Z beef with Crystal, something I chastised him for on this site, but little did I know there was another reason to get on Jay for this. 2 months later, Def Jam released Method Man's album. What on earth was Jay-Z doing, putting himself in the spotlight at a time when he should have been pushing a lead single for Method Man and giving him a budget for a video? Method Man is a legend in the game. As a part of Wu-Tang Clan, he helped bring New York hip-hop back, and he was instrumental in changing the sound of the scene at a time when the airwaves were ruled by West Coast funk. Instead of big-upping the legend and putting him on the pedestal he belongs on, Jay-Z essentially ignored the release of his album. Bad business move. A label has to sell albums for all of their artists, not just one. And there were even more examples of artists disagreeing with Jay-Z's leadership at the label. LL Cool J and Cameron both vocalized issues with a peer like Jay-Z being put in a position of power above them, but DMX's reaction was probably the strongest. X was one of the biggest rappers in the game at the time, but he ended up leaving Def Jam in 2006 after expressing many times that he didn't trust Jay-Z to have so much power over his career when he himself had his own brand to look after. DMX spoke many times in later years about how he felt Jay-Z tried to eliminate him as competition or blackball him by refusing to release his 6th album, forcing him to leave the label if he wanted his music to see the light of day again. And Joe Budden was another artist that wasn't a fan at all, later saying, "This was the first time that a rapper, our peer, was calling the shots, in charge of DMX's release date and LL Cool J's release date, and none of us took that well." Of course, that's only one of Jay-Z's moves in his music career that people consider a dark mark. There's another incident in 1999 where he was sentenced to 3 years probation for stabbing a record executive who he thought was bootlegging his music. Also around the end of Rockefeller, just before his time at Def Jam, many people felt he had done dirty business against his 2 co-founders when he didn't involve them in the negotiations to sell their label to Def Jam. Jay-Z undeniably did make a huge impact in the industry throughout his career, helping launch influential stars like Kanye, Rihanna, J. Cole, and more. But in a lot of ways, he left a trail of disappointment and bad business behind him. Artists like Tierra Marie, Cameron, Emil, Beanie Siegel, and many others have all talked about how Jay-Z failed to support them when it was his job to do so, showing favoritism or just ghosting their careers while they were signed to him. While Jay-Z's career as a record executive comes with a long list of achievements,
all this is coming back to bite him in the ass, man. All this is coming back to bite him in the ass, man.
At the same time, he also showed many times that he was willing to do whatever it took to push himself forward, even if that meant ruining relationships with people he was responsible for, cutting his longtime partners out of deals, or even worse. But Jay-Z's influence still stretched even beyond the music industry. He also emerged as a powerful voice for social justice, having a big impact on politics at the height of his career. Especially during the tense social climate of the mid and late 2010s, Jay-Z was known for helping pay legal fees and provide support for a number of people who were widely recognized as not being treated fairly by the American justice system. He was a huge supporter of Colin Kaepernick and even turned out a Super Bowl halftime show performance to show support for him. And he also helped 21 Savage avoid deportation from the US. He even reportedly spent millions of dollars helping Meek Mill stay out of prison after an incident where he popped a wheelie on a dirt bike, ended up being a probation violation, and put him behind bars for 6 months. Even more so, though, Jay-Z was known for providing representation for people who really needed it. Not just rappers and athletes, but people like Jabari Talbot, an 11-year-old kid who was arrested in Florida for not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance in his 6th grade classroom. And that's just one of many examples where Jay-Z used his own money to provide legal support for people facing injustice, even meeting with the governor of Minnesota after George Floyd was killed in 2020. When Barack Obama took office as America's first black president, Jay-Z became a frequent visitor to the White House and a vocal supporter of progressive policies. On October 31st, 2021, Barack Obama himself said this about Jay-Z. "I've turned to Jay-Z's words at different points in my life, whether I was brushing dirt off my shoulder on the campaign trail or sampling his lyrics on the Edmund Pettus Bridge on the 50th anniversary of the Selma March to Montgomery. Today, Jay-Z is one of the most renowned artists in history and an embodiment of the American dream, a dream he has helped make real for other young people like him." When a former president of the US calls you the embodiment of the American dream, that's a whole other level of success, and it shows just how influential Jay-Z became over the years. And realistically, it did a lot for his PR too. By getting involved in giving and helping for people who needed it, he only added to the reputation he had as an artist who represented something real, powerful, and profound. Being someone who started from zero, selling crack in the streets of New York, started rapping, and within a few years was a record executive, and then turning around and spending his own money to help people who need representation, speaking for actual causes, he was an icon of black excellence, someone who could actually make a change in the world and was willing to stand up and do it. With articles like How Jay-Z Became a Civil Rights Champion getting published on major news sites all throughout the 2010s, he became somewhat of a political icon, or at least that's what the official narrative was. Throughout his career, though, if you look a little bit closer, a different story also sits in plain view. Despite his work in activism, the charitable giving, the record-breaking discography, the icon status as a living embodiment of the American dream, over time, a darker side of Jay-Z as a person and a businessman became clear, and a lot of people's perception of him has changed. And that side has a greed for money and a lust for power by any means necessary. And the closer you look, it seems to go against a lot of the values people thought he embodied. Even with his career in activism, a loyalty to money and success over values and principles started to show. Having once supported NFL player Colin Kaepernick and his political protest on the field, Jay-Z even criticized the NFL for the way they treated him publicly. But he then went on to sign a deal to help organize Super Bowl halftime shows, which many people felt was hypocritical and self-serving. And that's not even getting into how many people felt like Jay-Z completely betrayed them after he started advocating for black people to gentrify their own hoods. For many people, that feels like the voice of elitism, greed, and inequality. Getting rich and gentrifying your old neighborhood doesn't save it. That's just the same definition of gentrification as it always was, meaning that residents would get displaced as the area gets more attractive for wealthier people who are from out of town to move in. And the issue was, Jay-Z did do that in real life. He owned a small portion of the Brooklyn Nets NBA team for a number of years, and as part of that, he also invested in the construction of a new arena for the team. Attached to that arena development was a plan for 17 new high-rise buildings, some of which are still under construction today. However, it quickly became one of the most controversial building projects in American history, because in order to start building, they didn't build it on top of abandoned lots or vacant buildings, but instead used eminent domain to find space. That's the process of the government taking people's houses and demolishing them to build new stuff on top. In the process of setting up the new arena and the surrounding buildings, hundreds of people from Brooklyn were forced to move from their homes so expensive apartments could be put there instead. Jay-Z, not long after, sold his share of the arena for a $500,000 profit. In the years since, this project has been called a disaster that raised the cost of living in Brooklyn for hundreds of thousands of people without providing any benefits to locals. It's not hard to see that as Jay-Z selling out his own neighborhood for a quick buck, giving into the corporate machine for his own benefit. But even then, that's not the only time Jay-Z has faced controversy for his investments and business interests. Jay-Z was never just a rapper. He might have been one of the greatest rappers around for a long time, with a long list of awards, classic albums, and so on, but even in the early days of his career, he was recognized also as an entrepreneur. I mean, he literally founded his own label that went on to be its own successful company just so he could drop a project. And across his career, he would go on to put...
We're standing up for our right to be lazy.
By sitting down.
And reclining back. Because we work hard and want to relax harder.
We, the lazy, are taking back lazy.
On our Lazy Boy furniture. Lazy Boy. Long live the lazy.
Those with Robinhood Gold can enjoy a 3% IRA match. Tremendous. Let's play some Hollywood Square! God created life on the first day. What did he do on the second day?
He told Eve, don't go there, girl.
The behavior deemed the most unacceptable on a flight is when people let their kids do what?
Get on the plane.
In 2023, what was the most popular name for baby boys born in the U.S.?
Nick Cannon Jr.
Hollywood Squares, new series premieres CBS Thursday at 8, 7 Central and streaming on Paramount+.
I don't know if you've heard, but iExcel's perfect for busy kids like us. I'm getting ahead in reading and catching up on math. iExcel actually makes math fun. Start learning today at iExcel.com.
Just a few years into his rap career, around the time of his third or fourth album, he and Rockefeller co-founder Dame Dash founded Rocawear, a clothing brand that within 10 years would be sold for more than $200 million. An insane sum for someone who was just 10 years ago selling CDs out of his car. Various sources report an annual revenue for Rocawear of anywhere from $50 million to $600 million when the brand was at its peak. Basically, Rocawear was a pretty iconic brand. In 2011, he also invested a few $1 million into Uber, which over time increased to the point where it made him over $100 million. In 2015, he bought and became the face of Tidal, a music streaming service with a focus on hi-fi sound quality and better pay for artists. Depending on who you ask, Tidal was either a huge success or overall kind of a failure. Even though Jay-Z, Beyonce, and others made their music available exclusively on Tidal for a couple of years, it never really took off with the general public, and they later even got caught faking streams on Beyonce and Kanye albums to make their stats look better. Jay-Z eventually sold Tidal to Twitter founder Jack Dorsey for $300 million, making Jay-Z a ton of money, but not becoming the game-changing company he had promised. In fact, many of the artists who stood with him at the start to endorse it, like Nicki Minaj, later talk about how they never got paid in any way for promoting the app. Still though, in 2019, he became the first hip-hop artist to ever reach billionaire status, with Forbes describing his wealth as a sprawling, diversified financial empire. For a lot of people, this added to Jay-Z's aura. Not only was he someone who could make generation-defining music, coming from a background of selling crack, but he also became a billionaire. It was simply unprecedented. The promises of his music, being the mouthpiece for hustlers, it had come true in the biggest way possible. Even Warren Buffett, the legendary investor worth $100 billion, once said, for a young person growing up, Jay-Z is the guy to learn from. For a lot of people, it represented the power of hard work, the importance of believing in yourself. I remember in 2013, I wanted to be an entrepreneur after listening to Magna Carta Holy Grail and learning more about Jay-Z. For millions of people, he embodied the dream of being self-made. But in the end, for many others, Jay-Z no longer represents the same message he did in the past. For a lot of people, his story now is more about corruption, abuse, greed, and the dark, exploitative reality of the entertainment industry. The stories of how he treated people, the sort of business he did, and what he was willing to do to find success and protect his investments, it paints a different picture than his PR machine has pushed for the last 25 years. And ultimately, in 2024, Jay-Z isn't really seen the same as he used to be. He still does have 30 million monthly listeners on Spotify, people still love his music, and he was just named the greatest rapper ever by multiple outlets last year, but there are a lot more people than ever starting to point out strange hypocrisies in his words and actions over the years. One of the worst ways that Jay-Z's greed has shown over the years is his friendships and networking with some of the most evil people the entertainment industry has ever seen, and that in itself has led to some really serious accusations against him in the past year. In late 2024, when Jay-Z was sued by controversial attorney Tony Busby for assaulting a minor with Diddy 25 years ago, his response was immediate and shockingly upfront for a person who has practically never responded to any other allegation that's been laid against him in the past, ever. He said this: "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whoever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. You have made a terrible error in judgment thinking that all celebrities celebrities are the same, but I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the project of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes and honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. And Jay-Z's response may or may not turn out to be the truth. The lawsuit against him was immediately made cloudy and controversial when the anonymous accuser admitted her story was full of inconsistencies. But still, the case has not yet been dismissed. Not to say it is or isn't true, it definitely could be. But ultimately, you don't even need to prove that he did that particular terrible thing to show that he isn't above other terrible things. Because the key truth that came out of that accusation wasn't that he did or didn't assault a minor, but instead that he was close friends with P. Diddy, one of the biggest monsters to ever work in the entertainment world. But you don't need a lawsuit to reveal that, because it was never a secret to begin with. And not long after the lawsuit came out, Jay-Z's legal team said this: Mr. Carter has nothing to do with Mr. Combs. They knew each other.
Let me wind that back some, you guys.
The guy to learn from. For a lot of people, it represented the power of hard work, the importance of believing in yourself. I remember in 2013, I wanted to be an entrepreneur after listening to Magna Carta Holy Grail and learning more about Jay-Z. For millions of people, he embodied the dream of being self-made. But in the end, for many others, Jay-Z no longer represents the same message he did in the past. For a lot of people, his story now is more about corruption, abuse, greed, and
greed, corruption come back to hunt you. I don't care how much money you have. This is why Big is single. This is why people like DMX. This is why Damon Dash left. Greed and corruption come back and hunt you. You can't make this thing up, fam.
The dark, exploitative reality of the entertainment industry. The stories of how he treated people, the sort of business he did, and what he was willing to do to find success and protect his investments, it paints a different picture than his PR machine has pushed for the last 25 years. And ultimately, in 2024, Jay-Z isn't really seen the same as he used to be. He still does have 30 million monthly listeners on Spotify, people still love his music, and he was just named the greatest rapper ever by multiple outlets last year, but there are a lot more people than ever starting to point out strange hypocrisies in his words and actions over the years. One of the worst ways that Jay-Z's greed has shown over the years is his friendships and networking with some of the most evil people the entertainment industry has ever seen. And that in itself has led to some really serious accusations against him in the past year. In late 2024, when Jay-Z was sued by controversial attorney Tony Busby for assaulting a minor with Diddy 25 years ago, his response was immediate and shockingly upfront for a person who has practically never responded to any other allegation that's been laid against him in the past, ever. He said this: "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whoever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. You have made a terrible error in judgment thinking that all celebrities are the same, but I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the project of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes and honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain." And Jay-Z's response may or may not turn out to be the truth. The lawsuit against him was immediately made cloudy and controversial when the anonymous accuser admitted her story was full of inconsistencies. But still, the case has not yet been dismissed. Not to say it is or isn't true, it definitely could be, but
see this? Jay-Z coming out the room. Oh, you put that thing on him. Oh, you put that thing on him. He's coming out the room, nothing but kids, fam. So y'all can't make this up, man. You can't just make this up, fam. He's looking at Diddy. Look at the smile. You don't think that they had a long-term friendship with each other, man? You can't make this up, fam. Look at the smile he had. Look at the relationship that they have. Oh, you put that thing on him. Oh, you put that thing on him. You can't make this up. Oh, you put that thing on him. Oh, you put that thing on him. Look at this guy with the glasses. He's just so happy. He's in a room. Look, watch the guy with the glasses. Watch how he look in the room and see nothing but kids in the room. And Jay-Z coming out like nothing happened. And he meet Diddy in the hallway. Oh, you put that thing on him. Oh, you put that thing on him. That
he did that particular terrible thing to show that he isn't above other terrible things. Because the key truth that came out of the accusation wasn't that he did or didn't assault a minor, but instead that he was close friends with P. Diddy, one of the biggest monsters to ever work in the entertainment world. But you don't need a lawsuit to reveal that, because it was never a secret to begin with. And not long after the lawsuit came out, Jay-Z's legal team said this: Mr. Carter has nothing to do with Mr. Combs. They knew each other professionally for some years, just like in all professions people know each other. At the music awards, they support each other. If you go to the NBA All-Star game, they support each other. That's just how professions work. There is no closer association between any of them. But that part is just a lie. Diddy and Jay-Z had been friends for a very long time, both coming up as big industry figures in the 90s and reaching similar levels of success. They've collaborated on music, charity events, concerts, and they've even called each other brothers in the past. A few years ago, they were seen together at a black billionaire brunch where Diddy made an infamous toast as Jay-Z stood next to him. It's hard to imagine that Jay-Z never knew at any point in all of his interactions with Diddy across those decades that something was wrong, especially while literally the entire general public knew about his monstrous behavior when it was still just rumors. And that's why it ultimately doesn't really matter if Jay-Z was part of Diddy's crimes or not. The idea alone that he might know who Diddy really was and was still happy to stand by Diddy for photos and events and have brunches and call him a brother, that in itself is bad enough. But it's not like he hasn't done this before. Working with Foxy Brown and making sexually explicit music with her when she wasn't even old enough to drive, going on tour with R. Kelly knowing he abused his ex-girlfriend, selling out his own hometown to property developers for a quick buck, leaving his co-founders out to dry when he sold his record label. You don't have to look at theories about him being involved with Diddy to see that he's already guilty of that same sin anyway. And that sin is ultimately greed. Getting to the level that Jay-Z reached requires you to be willing to do anything, whether it's screwing over other artists, threatening kids, stabbing another man in the stomach over a record, doing a world tour and collab album with his ex-girlfriend's abuser, not paying co-founders like Nicki Minaj for promotion on his app, writing the business partners who made his career out of the company. Jay-Z's path is one that he started on 40 years ago when he was dealing crack to his own neighbors so he could buy luxury cars and jewelry. But ultimately, pointing out that Jay-Z is a controversial person is a lot harder than it is for P. Diddy or R. Kelly or anyone else, because he has done a lot. For those guys, the evil was always obvious. They were bad at hiding it. Everyone could tell. Jay-Z gets a lot more credit for being vastly better at making music and creating narratives, but ultimately, he still has that greed in common with them. It's easy to look at Diddy and Jay-Z and all of their mutual friends like Oprah and everybody else and feel like there's a conspiracy around them being in cahoots with each other. And that might be true, but ultimately what brings them all together is the love of money. They're an example of what happens when you're willing to do literally anything to push yourself forward. And so in the end, he isn't that different from...
You see what I always said to you guys? For love of money is the rule of all evil. And some people are eager for it. They will do whatever it takes. They'll go the extra step. They'll go the extra mile. They'll do whatever it takes. If it's stabbing, if it's beating people, cheating people, lying, whatever. For a love of money is rule of all evil. And some people are just destined and they have an ego for it. And you find out they'll pierce themselves with many harmful lusts and harmful desires.
Someone like Diddy, who even before being arrested had an insane reputation of hurting, exploiting, and using everyone he worked with. Jay-Z is just much better at making music and creating narratives. But again, the truth is, it's simply a fact that in order to get anywhere near the level of fame and money that these people have achieved, you have to be ready and willing to do what Jay-Z did, and what Diddy did, or anybody else like them. And what they did is simple. They betrayed any sense of moral responsibility to be good towards others so they could get ahead. Jay-Z is no different than anyone else. There is no billionaire worth praising. But again, it's hard to completely condemn Jay-Z. He helped many people get out of prison, he has the cosign from Obama, and most of all, he's made a ton of music that people actually love.
Look, he helped people get out of prison, but look, he beat the whole Rockefeller, Damon's ass. Look, you got Biggie Singles, Memphis Bleak. He beat those people, and then look at he threatened Rihanna. I won't be surprised that Rihanna tells on Jay-Z. Foxy Brown, look at Foxy Brown, what she had to go through. Mental illnesses. Look at Aaliyah. And the list just go on.
Jay-Z's public profile doesn't have a completely black and white bad legacy, and that's what makes it more complicated than just seeing an out-and-out monster when you look at someone like Diddy. He knows how to do enough good to look good enough. Still though, in a world where people like Diddy and R. Kelly and Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein and so many others are finally called out for being evil in private while they parade their success to the world, Jay-Z isn't far off from being right next to them. Unless, of course, he is literally right next to them. It's ultimately a classic example of separating art from the artist. You can listen to Jay-Z's music, a lot of the great music he made, and you can take away something from it for yourself. Because music can be a good source of motivation or a story, but you don't need to idolize the person behind it. You can appreciate the artistry while acknowledging someone's flaws. Jay-Z was once a kid from Brooklyn, hungry to make a name for himself and get out of a situation in life. He wanted to get something, and he got it. And then he got more and more and then more until the person he became didn't have much in common with who he used to be, or really anyone else, as he became more and more elite and attached himself more to the capitalist system. But ultimately, Jay-Z's story is a reminder of human nature itself, because greed is a corrupting force that can turn even the best intentioned people into monsters. Plus, the reality of Jay-Z's character and life is bad enough without adding theories about the Illuminati or secret sex trafficking into the mix. And look, that stuff might be true too, but in the end, everything he's done in public is pretty serious anyway. All we can do as normal people who will never be billionaires, will never be A-listers, we can remember that these celebrities and entertainers are not our leaders, they're not our gods. They're always imperfect, sometimes evil individuals acting in their own best interest the same way we do in our own lives. If you're interested in more of my creations, you need to check out Spirit World, my independently owned line of solid silver, hand-painted jewelry. Each piece tells a story and is designed to not just be fashionable and well-made, but most importantly, it carries a reminder of the journey of life and the importance of continuing on no matter what. It really does stand for something. I started this brand completely independently. I design, ship, and fulfill every order, and every penny from our sales goes into being able to make more videos like this. These videos are often not YouTube friendly, and a lot of what I make gets demonetized. However, this channel is the main source of income for my family, and hundreds of hours of work go into every video. So Spirit World is a huge deal for us and allows us to keep making videos that people care about. My current favorite piece that I never take off is The Darkest Night and the Brightest Day, a silver piece of a sun rising over a night full of silver stars. It's a reminder to persist and reach your goals, and you can wear it every day. For me, it reminds me that the only thing crazier than focusing on my goals is sitting around doing nothing, because the morning always comes, and you have to keep moving. By making these, all I want to do is remind you that the only thing crazier than trying your hardest is never trying at all. It doesn't matter who you are, a rapper, a producer, photographer, student, writer, anything. We all get a new chance to work hard and reach our goals every day. Of course, though, Spirit World has all kinds of pieces, including our new pair, Chaos and Harmony, which are the craziest designs I've done yet. Anyway, if you want to grab some really beautiful silver jewelry that's actually really well made and will last for as long as you do, you can go to spiritworld.store and grab a pendant and chain right now. Shipping is always free in the US, and you can use the code VOLKSGANG for a special discount just for watching Volksgeist. And once again, thank you very much for supporting what I do on this channel and helping make sure that the videos keep coming.
Hi, I'm Dr. Harris with the Fibroid Treatment Center. Every day in my medical practice, I see women just like you who are suffering from fibroids with severe heavy bleeding or chronic pelvic pain, pressure, and cramping. I know from my past patients that these symptoms can impact your personal life, your social life, as well as sometimes even your work life. Fortunately, my specialty is educating women just like you on fibroids, as well as helping guide you through the process of seeking treatment. To do that, I've created a series of free online educational videos which will teach you everything you need to know about fibroids, discuss all of your treatment options.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. You know, Jay-Z in the world of trouble. You know, you can't make these up, man. You know, for him to be like he is today. See, you guys look up to these people and allies, man. And I always say the industry is wicked beyond your imagination, man. You can't make this stuff up, man. For Diddy to be, you know what I mean, the top artist And for him to go down, and Jay-Z ain't no worse. He is no worse, you guys. He's no worse. He's no worse today.
With you, as well as some of the pros and cons of those treatments, as well as letting you hear from some of our past patients and their experience with fibroids and what helped them make their decisions, as well as how they're doing even month.
I'm gonna need you guys to smash that like. I got 111 people here. I need you guys to smash that like. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. Within another month or two, things finna get real. Feds got a list of co-conspirators, and you know, wherever they got on this list, man, it's gonna shock a lot of us, man. There's a lot of people right now running, fleeing. You know, these people can run, but they can't hide. A lot of people are gonna lose out their careers. A lot of people are gonna lose their endorsements. A lot of people are gonna be separate from their families, children's, loved ones. It's sad. You know, the whole Hollywood industry, by the time this gets done, Hollywood is not going to be Hollywood anymore. You know, because all that stuff in that industry, you know what I mean? I told you guys how Hollywood really is. You know, I took the trip to Hollywood, and I'm glad I got to see Hollywood for what it is. I didn't want no part in the industry. I didn't want to sell my soul. I went to the LA Film School. You know what I mean? I went to these festivals. I got to see a lot of strange things. You know, I didn't went to these parties. I seen what these parties was about. I didn't want to eat nothing from the party. I didn't want to drink nothing from the parties, because I knew, and I just wanted to see it for my own self. Sometimes, you know, you got to go somewhere and see it for yourself. But I'm glad I can be able to talk about it today. I'm glad that I'm not a part of Hollywood. I didn't got invited to the Emmy Awards. I just got invited to that. They just had the Emmy Awards this week. You know, they had some kind of golden reward. I can't think of it, but they got a red carpet. You know what I mean? They got these after parties they didn't invite me to. And, you know, I turned them all down, man. But I'm glad I got to see everything firsthand, man. And that's why I can relate and I can explain what Hollywood's about. It's about to be exposed, excuse me. Everything what comes in that dark comes to the light, man. You know, everybody go to Hollywood because they see the glamour lights, you know, and I was given, you know what I mean? I was given a job. You know what I mean? They wanted me in the industry, but I didn't want to go in the industry. I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't want to meet these celebrities. I didn't want to meet it. I didn't want to be a part of Hollywood. I didn't want to sell my soul. You know, going to these parties and they tell you, man, it's going down. You want to leave around 1:30, 2 o'clock. Because if you still there around these parties around 1:30, 2 o'clock, you about to see some strange things like you never seen. People walking butt ass naked. You know, a lot of strange stuff goes on in the midnight hour, man. I'm glad I got to see it. Sometimes you got to see it to explain it. But like I said, if I was to sign my soul and be in Hollywood, I would have been right along with the rest of them, man. You know what I mean? That's why I know what I know, man. Dwight Howard putting on skirts, LeBron James putting on skirts. You got all these people, Will Smith, you know. I even met Quincy Jones. You know what I mean? I done met a lot of people And they, you know what I mean? They all with the program, man. You know, and they on hush hush because they don't want it to get out, man. You know, all this get out, you know how Hollywood be? You know how Hollywood wouldn't be Hollywood no more. If they get to the main people, I tell you guys, man, Hollywood won't be Hollywood no more. And I'm just gonna be straight up with you. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. See, I'm not gonna water this thing down. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I love you guys. You know, I'm still getting invited to these parties, man. I'm still getting invited to these matching parties, all that. Because you know why? You know why? Because I ain't exposed them. See, they want me back because they want to see what I know. But you know, right now, with so much going on, I don't want to be no part of Hollywood, man. You know, all money ain't good money, man. I don't care what they got waiting for me. All money ain't good money. You see, for the love of money is we're all evil. A lot of people are eager for it, man. A lot of people will do some strange things for it, man. I didn't heard there was a man that was at the parties, at Diddy's party, went down on Diddy for $2 million, man. And he was given a duffel bag full of cash. These things happen, man. These things happen, man. But I don't want to be a part of it. See, it's the time that you got to get yourself right with God. Get yourself in alignment with God. Because no time going to pass. No time going to pass. They're going after Jay-Z. And Jay-Z have a history of underage women. It's sad, man. You can't make this up. He put himself there, man. He put himself being this drug dealer. All that's going to catch up. See, all that will catch up. All this that Tony Buzzy will use, you know, and like I said, I've been saying, Jay-Z attorney, they, you know what I mean? They don't want to represent Jay-Z no more. Because he put himself out there. It's sad, fam. It's sad that he put himself out there. It's sad. And there's more to come. There's more of this to come. And see, a lot of people will tell on each other, you know, and, you know, a lot of people that's fleeing right now, they saving themselves because they know what happened. There's a lot of big names. A lot of big names. A lot of celebrity names. Basketball, NBA players. A lot of people was at these parties, man. A lot of them was at these parties, man. And I won't be surprised that they all go down. It's sad, fam. It's sad. That's why you can't take part with the devil. That's why the Bible says, come out of her, my people. Come out of her. See, Satan will offer his kingdom. So how hard it is for a rich man to enter into the kingdom than for a caramel to go to the eyes of a needle. Very hard. It's very hard. These people is going down, and they will take a lot of other people right along with them. It's sad. It's sad. You can see the greed. You can see the envy. You can see the corruption. You can see how prideful people is. But at the end of the day, you ain't gonna be able to take none of that with you. It's sad how wealthy people is. All the things they have, you see, it will be taken. That's why I don't put myself in that.
And years later, even if your primary doctor has told you what they think you need for your fibroids.
Well, you guys, it's been a pleasure having you guys, man. I gotta go eat. But you make sure you guys share this video, man. I got 74 people. Let's get the likes to go up to like 16. Let's get 16 likes before I head out. Let's get 16 likes, man. But I appreciate you guys anyway, man. You know I appreciate you guys, man. But it's sad though, man, how people will do anything for the money, man. How people will do anything for that money, man. It's sad, man. You about to start seeing names that you guys ain't even probably remember. Names that's just gonna pop up, man. Sad. Anyways, I'm out. Love you guys. Take care. Have a blessed night. I'm out.